on the Odyssey app is KFXX KWJJ HD2 Portland 1080 The Fan, an Odyssey station.
I still mess with the Bears. I'm just trying to take a little break. I'm following the Bears and the NFL, bro. I'm not just trying to have football on my timeline. Like, I know y'all mess with a girl, EQ, especially you. Just because you don't follow the girl on IG, don't mean you're not messing with her.
This is Dirt and Sprague.
Nelson hesitates, whips it into the corner for Griffin. And it's into Charles' hands for a three-point lead. 8 seconds to play. Richard to Clayton for 3 in the tie. And that's off the mark. And Alabama will survive at home with a half second to play.
With Andy Dirt Johnson and Brendan Sprague.
They're not going to use it. 7 seconds to go. Here goes Wright with 5. Wright with 3. Driving. Has it blocked. Gets it back. The shot. Gone! Tyrell Ward puts it in on a broken play. And LSU wins it 75-74.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, 6:02 in the Rose City. Time for Dirt and Sprague on Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday to all observe. All who observe Thursdays.
I do observe Thursdays.
Are you one of those?
I am one of those.
All
Yes,
right.
It comes after Wednesday every time, usually before Friday.
What are we observing?
Thursday.
Thursday.
You know,
Okay.
some people choose not to observe the day.
Oh, it's Thursday.
I
Yeah.
try not to. Thursday is usually my least favorite day because I'm here late on Wednesday. But
So
I
why was
still get
Thursday-
up early to go to work.
Oh, that's why it's your least favorite
Yeah,
day?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Friday Eve.
Because by about 6 o'clock, I am dragging.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah.
It's still Friday Eve, though.
That's true.
Pretty exciting.
But Friday, I still got to go to work all day, and so that doesn't make it as exciting. I get
Yeah.
excited about Friday like 3 o'clock.
But what's the work? I've always said this. Like, if you're going Fridays, who works Fridays? Really?
Like actually works.
Like, people are going to work.
Sure.
But how many people are actually, like, working?
Ooh, I'm good for maybe about 3 hours. Like if I get in at 7:30.
Really?
Yeah, come 10:30, I'm
Yeah.
like, ooh, what's our afternoon look
Yeah,
like?
then you start you start talking to coworkers.
What are you
"Hey,
doing this weekend?
I got an extended business lunch.
What are you doing with the kids?
Yeah. You start texting your wife, hey,
Yeah.
when are we gonna do the thing with the kids?
Yeah. What are we having for dinner tonight?
Yeah. So Friday, I mean, it's there, but it's not really a work day
No.
for most people.
I wish how I felt on Friday was how I felt on Sunday. Because Sunday it's like the dreadful day. You're like,
Sunday's a day off.
I know it's a day
I
off.
mean, for some people.
But it's like, it's the opposite of Friday. It's like a half day off. And then the other half, I got to be like, okay, I got to get ready to go to work tomorrow. Do I got my laundry done? Blah, 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 blah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't have that problem.
I know. Lucky you.
I love Sunday.
Yeah, lucky you.
I
dude.
wake up and I'm like, nothing to do
It's
today.
so great.
It is.
I just pray the Sunday night football game doesn't go to overtime. That's the only thing you're worried about.
It is during football
The
season.
biggest worry in your world is Sunday night football going to overtime. Don't worry, they're not usually great games, so you're good.
I watched a lot of sports yesterday.
That's awesome.
There was a lot of
And
sports to be watched.
There were, but I also watched a docuseries on Apple TV. I watched the Patriots thing, the new Patriots, New England Patriots
I haven't
dynasty
seen it.
run.
I haven't heard it. Oh, it's about the dynasty run?
You guys did you not hear about this?
No.
Wow. Sometimes I'm like, oh, how did you not hear about this?
Sometimes I'm like, where'd you dig that up?
Well, it just came out. It was I forget the guy who did it, but he did it for Apple TV, and he's doing a docuseries. I think it's a 10-parter, and I did the first 2 episodes yesterday.
How much Drew Bledsoe in your life did you ingest?
The whole first episode is Drew Bledsoe.
Yeah.
Like the entire, well, I mean, it's a little bit of the backstory of Robert Kraft and Belichick, but for the most part, it's largely Drew Bledsoe's our guy. They gave him the $100 million contract.
Yeah, dude. That's why I hate Tom Brady.
Rewatching that, because it was 2000. I was like 13 going on 14 that year, that season. And I followed football like religiously, but I was 13 or 14.
Sure.
So
I'm 15, 16, so I'm a little bit ahead of you.
Yeah, but we're still missing some
course.
context, right? I had forgotten how contentious that situation got when he came back from the injury.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's the first ever, without seeing this docuseries, in my mind, it feels like the first time a player, because the NFL used to be like, you never lose your job to injury. That's long gone. That's long gone. It's next guy up, and if you play better, sorry, dude, we're going with this guy, and you probably get cut. But that was the first time I ever remember seeing a guy who was, I mean, his nickname was the starter, the bona fide starting quarterback, franchise guy, big dude, pocket presence, smart guy, fan favorite,
Yep.
gets hurt. When he comes back, they're like, eh. I remember seeing a, it was an NFL Network. What's the one? It had like, the intro had like this gray thing, and there was like a football player walking, a football life.
Oh, yeah,
Remember
yeah,
those?
yeah.
There was a football life on Belichick.
Yeah.
And Belichick said he was kind of dancing around that him and Drew didn't really see eye to eye, and he wasn't really sure what to do. He wasn't his guy, but he was the starter, and everybody loved him. And then Belichick kind of looks at the camera and was like, and then he got hurt, and everything fixed itself.
Well, they go into this. So Belichick in Cleveland, Swag, you'd remember this more than I would because I don't know anything.
I
about
don't remember
Belichick
in Cleveland.
Right. I guess Bernie Kosar was basically the Drew Bledsoe. He was beloved. People, they chose him over anybody else involved with the Cleveland Browns. Kosar hurt his ankle, became less mobile, and he basically benched him. And that was also the season that they announced that they were moving to Baltimore. And so it was like just a double dose of hatred from the fans. You benched our guy, and
he took our team.
And Art Modell is going to take our team to Baltimore. So it was interesting that he had put himself in this situation twice. He hated he hate Bernie Kosar, but he didn't think Kosar was the guy. You know what's interesting is watching that, because you're not wrong in a lot of ways. What you learn watching this on Apple TV, because you get all of these great bits from Ty Law, from Teddy Bruschi, Mike Vrabel, Brady. Like, Brady cuts it loose in this thing. There's a moment where Ty Law...
It's now Brady? It's not like previous footage? It's now Brady?
It's fake hair, plastic surgery, white teeth Brady. But Ty Law shares a story about how he sold his condo to Brady and how he had decked out his condo at $150,000 of nice stuff. And he jokingly says, yeah, Tom, you still owe me that $150, man. And they cut to Brady, and Brady's like, Ty Law is full of S. He ripped me off.
Oh, nice. Okay, I like Candid Brady.
Yeah, Candid Brady's great. It makes you see the Brady that his teammates see, and you go, I get it.
Yep.
And I already got it because I'm a big Brady guy.
Sure.
But you see that version of Brady and you like it. Anyways, back to the Bledsoe stuff. So what's interesting is they go through this whole, like, he gets injured, and then Brady starts, and Belichick kind of likes Brady, likes the work ethic. And then Bledsoe comes back, he's like, wait, it's not my job? And it's just like this weird thing. The second episode, Scott Pioli, who's a longtime Belichick Patriot guy, he starts revealing that they had meetings that summer before their season where they randomly won the Super Bowl. They had internal meetings and conversations that when they watched tape, Bledsoe was starting to show age.
Wow.
Even prior to the injury, they're watching tape, and like the minute a defensive lineman gets within 5 yards of him, they basically say he becomes a wildebeest who just waits for the lion to jump on the back.
Yeah.
And there was something about the way Brady moved, and we saw this because he's one of the slowest quarterbacks to ever exist, but he's probably the best pocket presence quarterback.
Yeah, what are his sack numbers? I'd be very interested in that. Compared to not mobile, that's not too fair, but compared to guys of his time, like the Paytons of the world, Roethlisberger's, things like that. Like, Roethlisberger could move, but he took sacks.
Yeah.
I'd be interested in what Brady's sack numbers are.
I'd have to go look at it, but I just, watching him play for 20 years,
right,
nobody moved a pocket quite like he did without any real speed.
Sure.
And so it was just interesting to go back and rehash that, and then also listen to, like, internally, they were watching Bledsoe tape and going, I don't know, man. I think his pocket presence, some of this stuff is starting to slip a little bit. Like, they were kind of looking ahead before anybody had even thought that far ahead.
Well, knowing what we know now about Bill, excuse me, and how it kind of ended at the end, doesn't this track? Like Kosar, Bledsoe, like he walks in and he's like, I don't care. That's not my guy. I'm in control here.
He's committed to
Look
only
into
what
my
makes
eyes.
sense to him.
Yeah. It tracks for me. But that's my beef. And now that I think about it, maybe Trent Green the year before is the example because he goes down in St. Louis and Kurt Warner comes in.
Yeah, that's a different. It's kind of a different circumstance though, because Green had no chance of coming back the year he got hurt,
That's true.
and then Warner wins the Super Bowl. That's if Bledsoe had stayed out all year, and Brady and they go on that magical run.
That would make more sense.
It would make a little more sense just from that standpoint.
And then Trent Green died 2 years later in Kansas City.
died.
Remember, dude, that hit? Swag, do you remember that hit that Trent Green took coming out of bounds? I believe he was in Kansas City. Maybe he was in Miami.
He went to the Chiefs after
He went to the
Rams,
Chiefs,
yeah.
and he's
Yeah.
running out of bounds to like get a first down, and he gets hit on the side, and his feet go out from under him, and his head goes
slams on the ground.
slams on the ground, and he was done.
Just a big concussion. Yeah.
Absolutely done.
Yep.
Trent Green and Priest Holmes. I loved that team on the. I
That
loved
team
those.
was good.
That Chiefs team was sneaky fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Who wasn't the Chiefs with Priest Holmes and Madden? You know.
The Chiefs, like Montana Post, were kind of
Was
fun all
Christian
the time.
Okoye still on the team? The
I-
Nigerian Nightmare.
I think he was. I'll have to go
Yeah.
look at the roster, but I think
I
he
love
was.
that guy.
Yeah,
That's a fun
Post
team.
Montana, that team was always like, "Oh, what's Elvis Gerback gonna do?"
And
"Oh,
now they're
what's
not-
Steve Bono gonna do?
Yeah,
but they could never
Yeah,
quite
Elvis
get there.
Gerback. They just wanted every former
Yeah,
Niner
I know.
quarterback for a run there, and then they went and got their own. And they just beat the Niners now. But I was watching this because I didn't think I'd be interested in them. It's the Patriots. I feel like I lived it.
It's tough to watch, and that's how I'm kind of like, oh, I'll go back and watch this, but it wouldn't be number one on my priority because I lived that.
Well, my gambling co-host on Sundays, she's in Boston, so
Okay.
she's a diehard
Yeah, yeah.
Boston, and she was ranting and raving. And I was like, you know what? I'll give it a tryout. I like Apple TV's
Sure,
products.
Me too.
I
I
was
want to start the World War II
yeah.
thing on Apple TV.
Yeah, there's some-
I'm circled that.
Apple TV's got good content. I was wondering though. Imagine watching it with the Apple Vision Pro.
I'm not into that.
See,
I'm too old man for that.
I ranted about this, and then I
Is
heard
that a glasses virtual thing?
kind of yeah. It's like a pair of goggles, and it goes over your head, and it's supposed to be amazing. I've seen some of the.
I only drive my Tesla with those.
Do you? There was a guy caught crossing the street with it. He almost got hit by a car.
Exactly.
I listened to Simmons had a podcast with some tech guy, and he was talking about this, and the guy was basically acknowledging everything I ranted about because I was anti this about a week or two ago.
Yeah.
And how I just don't want to live in a world where we're putting these on all day, and like he's talking about people in coffee shops going to coffee shops and then putting these on, and I'm like, what a world that would be to walk into a coffee shop.
Yeah.
And 23 people have Apple Vision Pros on
Yeah, why don't you just do that at home? Why are you going somewhere?
because people like to feel like they, you know what I mean? They
Oh,
get out of the house.
It's
a little
I mean, guilty as charged because I'm wearing it, but it's like why people want white earbuds because it looks like you have an iPhone or you're an Apple user.
oh, really? That's
like
a
when they
thing?
first came out,
Oh,
it's
gotcha.
like, oh, my headphones are white because I got an iPhone,
yeah.
Oh,
and you're like,
I don't own
wow.
anything Apple.
Well, but he made a good point. He said the technology is so advanced and it's going to keep advancing. Imagine a scenario where you can sit. Let's say the missus is out and she's going and rehearsing. Okay,
Yes.
so Swag, you're all alone. You have an Apple Vision Pro. It's $3,500, by the way. Looked it up.
Sure.
Just to say you have it.
You got
It's like a year's
intrigued and then you
salary
looked
for
it up.
us in here.
Your buddy says, "Hey, I've got tickets to the game. Blazers are playing a big game. You know what? I got nothing going
How
on.
far into the future is this?
This is maybe a year or two away. This might be 3 years away."
Missed that. Sorry.
And they tell you, "Hey, it's this login. You put the Apple Vision on, and you can actually virtually be in the seat, but the camera looks better than anything you've ever seen in your life. It almost looks like you are right there. Imagine sitting on your couch and having that experience."
I don't see any way it replicates being there live. I don't.
I think their cameras are like 8K. I think eventually it's going to get to that.
But I don't know how. There's still an experience. I mean, you're gonna take me. You say you can put me in a ballpark or something. I think about going to a ballpark.
Yeah,
for
a
Major
baseball
League
game. That's a great one.
But there's still sounds and smells and all of those things that I don't think you can replicate.
Yeah,
Oh,
if you don't like garlic, don't go to Seattle
Yeah, you wait until they
or
can make
San Francisco.
hot dog smell come down out of the
Smell-o-vision
machine,
coming out.
and you're like smelling it. Oh, that's a hot dog. I kind of want one of those. but
No,
sitting on
you
your
let my
couch.
There's a
Blazer
little
joke
hot dog
just go
ad
right
in it.
over your head.
I didn't hear it at all, I guess.
Oh, you said the Blazers are in a big game, and I
Yeah.
said, how far into the future are we?
Oh, I thought you were talking about the Apple Vision
No.
Pro.
What's more futuristic, Blazers being favored in a game or the Apple Pro thingamajigger?
Well, I put a poll question on this.
Okay.
I'll go on this. Apple Vision Pro. Let's say you could afford it, okay?
Sure.
What would you be most excited to try event-wise wearing the Apple Vision Pro? And your 4 options on the Dirt and Sprague poll question are Dirt's face, so watching a show like ours, sporting event, concert, music, live music could be
Yeah,
kind of
that could
cool.
be fun. I watch live music shows all the time on my TV.
Exactly.
All the time.
Imagine it, you actually feel like Garth Brooks is 5 feet in front of your face.
Yeah.
Or porn.
I was going to say, there's no way you're
Porn,
getting out of here
Dan.
without that.
That's got to be the greatest porn to watch of all time, right?
I mean, you're there. Like, let's not beat around the bush here. You're there.
Yeah.
Like,
We are beating around the bush.
yeah, you are there.
Yes.
You are in that action.
Look, I think everybody, if we're being honest, in the trust tree would probably want to say porn.
I think it might be a little overwhelming.
You need safe words for your vision.
Do they vibrate your face?
I don't know. That could be too much.
What are you doing? She's sitting on my face. What are you
I-
talking about?
Help!
Nothing. Change the channel. I don't know.
As you document almost every day, I am an old man. I don't know what I can handle anymore.
How'd he die? Died of a heart attack. Massive heart attack. He had an erection the size of a giraffe. We came in and he was dead. What was he doing? He's watching porn on Apple Vision Pro. It's too much for him. Heart couldn't handle it.
He was a good man.
He was a great man.
So I might take the live concert. I think that might be
I think I'm with you on that. I think
all
the
I can
concert would
handle
be
at
rad.
this point in my
I think the
life.
sporting event was cool. One of the listeners responded and said they had F1 race demos, and they said it was amazing.
Well, that's I can
Now,
see.
if you could put me in the driver's seat,
yeah,
if you could put me in the driver's
That
seat,
would be wild.
Now I'm
man.
dialing
if
in.
you can put me in Luka Doncic's point of view, I'm in.
Well, that's probably why porn wins here. It's the POV, isn't it?
Yeah, like if I can see Mahomes stand at the line, and look and point at dudes, that's rad.
Swag's gonna die in the year of 2036 when Apple Vision Pro's affordable. He's all alone for a weekend. You know what? I am gonna get naughty and
gonna
try
give a
this
shot.
out.
Oh,
This a
golly,
shot.
I'm hot today.
The Jolo's juggling tonight. All right. Well, we got a busy show. Let's get it going. What a fun night for this sport. We'll start there. Dirt and Sprague next on the Fan.
The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
Colin Cowherd. This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, we got two guests today. Ryan Clark of the Oregonian, OregonLive.com, covers the Timbers and the Oregon Ducks. So we'll talk with him. Timbers season's kicking off here. Hey, kick it off, huh? Yeah, like that. No? Okay, all right.
I'm out.
He will join us at 7:30. And then our buddy Ken Barkley of You Better You Bet at 8 a.m. I've got a lot of future questions to ask, college basketball, and that's where we'll start. A nice little night in college hoops last night. We had quite the upsets. We had some really good games happen last night. We had some audio here we're going to get to. One of the audio cuts we didn't get, but for the first time ever in program history, we talked about Creighton yesterday getting their first win over an AP #1 team. George Mason gets their first ranked win at home against Dayton.
It's wild to think that on the surface, you're like, this is their first home win ever against a ranked opponent. You're like, that's amazing. It's like the fourth biggest win in their program history.
Which is, that's what's wild about George Mason.
They beat Brandon Roy and UW. They beat a UConn team that was hot. They went to a Final Four.
The Rudy Gay UConn team.
Gay UConn and Brandon Roy UW is who they went through to get to that Final Four.
You're right, but it was still a massive moment for them at home last night.
Those little teams like that, like like Gonzaga was like this in the beginning. Creighton was like that as well. Butler as well. Like when you're building those small programs, you don't have a chance to win those big games. Like how often are you in the AAC and somebody's ranked and you get them at home?
Yeah.
It doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
It's just a simple math game.
They went on a 19-0 run yesterday against Dayton.
That's awesome.
So they were feeling it at home last night. So George Mason pulls off the upset. Penn State pulls off a Big Ten upset against Illinois. We had this one. This was on ESPN. We had Alabama and Florida. They went to overtime on ESPN2. Here was the end of that game.
Nelson hesitates, whips it into the corner for Griffin, and it's into Shaw's hands for a three-point lead. 8 seconds to play. Richard to Clayton for three in the tie. And that's off the mark. And Alabama will survive at home with a half-second to play.
So that was ESPN2. That was a really fun game. I watched most of that one yesterday. New Mexico had this win over Colorado State a little bit late last night.
Mountain West basketball, feel the heat.
Yeah, hell yeah, baby. Here we go on this one.
Stevens can't get loose. It's Scott. Clifford for the win. Oh, it's short. New Mexico holds on.
Colorado State going for the win. Rich Walsh on CBS Sports Network, and they fall short. They lose to New Mexico. Colorado State does. And then you had this thrilling end on ESPN with the legendary Dave Pasch.
They're not going to use it. 7 seconds to go. Here goes Wright with 5. Wright with 3. Driving. Has it blocked. Gets it back. The shot. Gone! Tyrell Ward puts it in on a broken play. And LSU wins it. 75-74.
Dave Pasch on ESPN with the call. That was a wild sequence. Kentucky comes down, gets the bucket, takes the lead. It's about 12 seconds left. LSU goes in, calls no timeout, just goes, and they get the putback.
I love that move.
No timeout?
Instead of calling timeout, no, just go. I was sitting in the chair you're sitting in watching that.
It was a great game.
It was excellent. But I love that call. And I think that those are the kind of calls. I mean, I don't know if LSU's getting into the tourney swag. You can correct me on that. But those,
they're 14-12.
Yeah,
no, they're not. The SEC
they need a run.
Seems to think they're getting 8 or 9 though.
Yeah. But those are the things that I think are so ballsy that get you ready for postseason play. It's like, no, guys, go. You're feeling it. You're in this.
Yeah.
You go take over. It's like if UConn got close late in that game against Creighton, you might take a timeout to like chill out. Okay, you gave this up. But when you're neck and neck like that, dude, just go. Just go.
You go, get down there before the defense can set up. You might get a quick look.
We get a chance to set a play, but so do you.
Well, exactly. Plus, if there's free throws beforehand, like you can call somebody over to the bench while the free throws are going on. You don't have to burn a timeout. You want to burn a timeout if there's a dead ball and you've got a specific front court situation, either sideline out of bounds or baseline out of bounds, and you've got to draw up a play.
I love the go. I love it.
But full court, no, I'm all in favor of.
Yeah.
There's probably some sort of dead ball before that you can say if it's under 10 seconds and it's full court, this is what we're doing. Go.
Yep.
You love it until your team misses the shot, and
Well,
then
of course.
everybody and their mom is second guessing.
Well,
Why didn't you call timeout? You had a timeout. You didn't call play.
Of course, I try not to live in that world.
Yeah,
I try to live in the world.
if
I
you-
try to live in the world
Yeah.
of the guy missed the shot.
That's different from did you get a good look?
Right.
Did you run something and get a good look and the guy missed it? Then the
Well,
guy missed it.
But let's be honest. I watched that game too. Didn't get a great look. It was a putback that won the game. It
Yes.
wasn't the original
Right,
shot.
right.
The original shot was kind of and then they got a putback right at the horn.
Yeah, baby.
So it works out to not call timeout.
Do you normally talk college basketball this early? Or are you just feeling it right now?
I've been following college hoops more this year.
Yeah, baby.
Well, I want to continue on actually because something happened in that game that we're talking about that I think it's too loud to ignore at this point.
Okay.
So let's talk about that. We'll get to some of the futures of that sport with Ken Barkley at 8, but I want to talk a little bit more college hoops on the other side next on The Fan.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Laurelhurst Market Steakhouse and Butcher Shop. Their butchers are all trained chefs eager to help with cooking advice. Get to know your friendly neighborhood butcher online at laurelhurstmarket.com. First on The Fan. Just hours after the 5+7 model was approved for the expanded 12-team college football playoff, reports are surfacing from those meetings. A 14-team model is being thrown around that would have the Big Ten and SEC each getting 4 automatic berths. If approved, could begin in 2026. College hoops all over the region tonight here on The Fan. The depleted Ducks trying to mount a run for a spot in the field of 68. They're on the farm at Stanford for an 8 o'clock tip. Pregame coverage at 7:30. Beavers across the bay in Berkeley. They'll take on the Cal Bears at 7 on the Pac-12 Network. And over on 910 ESPN Portland at 5:30, the Pilots host Gonzaga. Tip set for 6 p.m. Top 10 ranked Oregon State baseball team remained undefeated with a 10-4 thumping of 17th ranked Texas Tech. They will get number 2 Arkansas on Friday. And the PGA Tour has started its journey east. They are south of the border for the Mexico Open at Vedanta. Round 1 underway. Andrew Novak, Ryan Fox are early leaders at 1 under par. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Spirit Mountain Casino is the place to watch and wager on pro and college games every week. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Tired of getting dinged by subscriptions? We This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
The latest bracketology, Joey Brackets, has your Washington State Cougars as an 8 seed against Northwestern as a 9, and you would take on, you'd assume, you take on the 1 seed in Houston.
Freel the Heat, if you catch my drift.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, Cougs are great. And I would be happier on the other side of the bracket, the 7-10. I think there's a lot of potential 2 seeds that are a little bit fraudish.
Sure.
Going in this year. I think the 1 seeds look really good. I love Houston. I love UConn.
You want to get to Detroit. I think if you're a fan, Washington State's a good team this year. And it's going to be really sad when Kyle Smith goes to Ohio State. But as good a story as it's been, you have got to be pulling 8 seeds fine.
8 seeds fine.
But you want to be the 8 seed in Detroit. You know why?
Purdue?
Purdue.
Yeah, baby.
You want the Purdue bracket. You want that region. Where's Purdue? Good. We can beat them.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We got Arizona tonight. Big game. I'm going to be watching that. I'm going to actually think I'm going to hit it on the old record on the YouTube TV. And after the kids go down, I'm going to stay up and watch that whole game. We beat them last time, but this time we're on the road. I like that. I don't know. You go deep. Maybe Cougs sneak out a Pac-12 title, conference tournament.
That'd be cool.
Title.
Yeah.
And
the last year of it.
Yeah, and I think you bump from an 8 or 9 to a 7-10. Hell, maybe you get to a 6.
I want to read this one. It's labeled "First time in a long time. I almost cried after a basketball game."
No.
It's LSU.
Oh.
LSU. What makes it worse is them storming the court after. Shows we should have won this game. This team is so good and has much talent, but I don't understand why we can't perform in games. We have to and should. We single-handedly lost this game due to rebounding. Ugh. Time to listen to the post game. That's the Kentucky men's basketball Reddit page, and that was a post shortly after the game ended. What do we make of John Calipari? Are we, like, when he hangs them up, what are we going to say about John Calipari? What's the reputation with Calipari?
I don't know.
It's been, to me, can I say, I asked you that question, then I interrupt you, but I found myself last night that, like, some of that is just luck. The ball bounced right to an LSU guy, and he puts it up, he hits it. Okay, it's one game. We'll see what they do in the tourney. But I guess one of their better players, people are pissed. He's only playing like 18 minutes a game. So, like, what are you doing? This kid can get us buckets. I find it very underwhelming, him in Kentucky so far.
Calipari, to me, has been to 2 national championships with 2 different teams, correct? Memphis and Kentucky.
3 Final Fours with 3 different teams.
Although Memphis technically doesn't count, but
Well,
3
you
Final
did at
Fours,
UMass.
3 Final Fours with 3 different teams. I will always know Calipari as a really great recruiter. I think he a lot of times recruited the wrong guys for his system, and I think he often gets X and O'd out the building by other coaches. Hell of a recruiter. Sees NBA talent, and he can't make the NBA talent work on the college level.
What say you, Swag? Calipari.
I think he'll be underappreciated.
Underappreciated.
When it all goes down. I think he figured out. I mean, some of the stuff he did, he embraced and understood what the one and done
For sure.
way before anybody else.
For sure.
He's made it work as well as anybody, and he understands the roll of the dice that it is when you go play that game.
And I just think his dice often rolls poorly. Like but to Swag's point, he forced Coach K into the one and done.
Yeah.
And Coach K wanted nothing to do with that. He forced his hand into that.
I think he will tell you it is harder and harder to find kids in that echelon of talent and projected where they might end up to be coachable. Because he coaches them hard. He really does. And he understands what they're trying to accomplish, and he is more concerned about getting them to play defense together, and then whatever happens at the offensive end happens. And a lot of college coaches are like that. If I can get you guys to be organized and communicate and talk and play defense as a group, you are talented enough at the other end that we will win most of our games and have a shot to go deep.
I think that's what's surprising. You asked, do you ever talk to college basketball this early? Probably at some point in the show I have, but largely we don't. I don't know if maybe it's because of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm coaching 6th grade girls this year. It's my second year as a coach.
So you got a little more eyes on the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm more curious to watch it because I've long hated college basketball. I watch, and I know everybody's mad at the NBA and tells me they don't watch it. That's okay. But if you're comparing styles, stylistically, watching offense in basketball, you highlight the defense that I watch Kentucky, I've watched any Calipari team, and it's been like, hey, best player, go save us, is how I feel when I watch them.
Yeah, it wasn't unless they had, two guys. Like, is De'Aaron Fox, Julius Randle, are they the same team?
I think Fox was a little
Or
after Randall.
Derrick Rose, DeMarcus Cousins, like
Yeah, like those.
yeah, once he had
Anthony Davis.
once he had
yeah,
duos,
yes.
once he had duos, like the Michael Kidd Gilchrist team that
Yep.
won a natty, when he had a couple dudes he could rely on, unreal.
Yeah.
Unreal.
But I've always been interested in watching what is your structure offensively. And it's fine to say, hey, let's play defense. I told my team quite literally yesterday, we're a slow starting team.
Mhm.
We take about half of a quarter to get going.
You implementing that Tony Bennett
Our-
life in there?
Our defense has to be our offense. Like, I'm telling them this. So I'm more just interested in like watching what these coaches are doing. But with him, I think you're right. He did embrace the one and done. He did kind of put into the forefront and future of the game. No, this is the way we have to do this. This is who we are. Also, like, has gotten the best talent for a long time and has
got
one
one.
chip. And one chip's great. Like, any
It's
coach would
hard
kill to get one. I
do.
know.
Patino
I
only
know.
had one at Kentucky, right?
Yeah, I think he only had one.
he only had
might
one.
have got there a couple other times, but I think he only had one.
He
So the
got
que-
one at Kentucky, but he also got one at Louisville.
Right. But as far as Kentucky coaches go, where does Calipari and Patino sit?
I mean,
Does
Tubby
Patino
Smith has one.
Tubby Smith has one,
Yeah.
sure. Does Calipari get above Patino for kind of changing the game and embracing
Oh,
the game?
I think if you pressed it, well, today would be a tough day to do this, but if you had pressed at a random time in August,
Uh-huh.
who was better to you, Patino or Calipari?
I would probably say Patino.
I think almost all of those fans would say Patino. Because
Interesting.
Patino's a dirtbag.
Right.
We didn't even
But
get
he
to
was
the
their
audio.
dirtbag.
But he's a good coach.
Yeah,
he
very.
knows hoop.
Very. I always loved Patino.
There was a story I remember hearing about years ago that Patino was heavily recruiting Sebastian Telfair.
Oh, really?
He's actually in the Telfair doc talking about how good Telfair is and how much he wants him at Louisville. Because I had just gotten to Louisville. And the funny thing is, I had heard a story that Rick Pitino was kind of rooting for Telfair to go to the league, even though
Because he didn't want to lose the recruiting battle.
No, because he was afraid the kid was going to get exposed because he couldn't shoot for anything. And then what it was his career ended up being that. But I don't know. It's a tough place to be. It is so hard to win one of those.
Yes.
But also the counterpoint is you have out-recruited 95% of everybody else in that tournament.
Yeah, it's weird.
You have the horses to be doing it
Yeah,
more than once.
It's like Georgia has the #1 recruiting class in football for 8 years in a row and has one title. Like, that wouldn't make sense. We'd be burning them to
No,
the
they went
ground.
back to back, and had they not lost one game at the worst time of the
Right.
year, they probably win it again.
But we'd be burning them to the ground if they had #1 recruiting class over #1 recruiting class and could never.
Well, that's why Ryan Day's on a hot seat.
Right,
He's
right.
like, his record is in the 800 winning percentage, but he can't win one game at the end of the year,
Yep.
and he can't win the big one in a playoff. So we got to kind of fire this guy. It's
Yeah.
like, I mean,
Be careful what you wish for, kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah, but you're also Ohio State. Like, you should be able to get the best possible
That's
coach
true.
on the market. Like, you're a job. I know this is going to sound crazy right now, given what we just watched with Bama.
I follow.
But Ohio State is a job that makes every fan base clench their cheeks.
Yep.
Please don't leave. Please don't leave. Husky fan, Duck fan,
Dude,
USC fan, everybody's going, I don't think my
Dude, you
guy's
said
gonna leave,
Kyle
but-"
Smith to Ohio State, and that's basketball, and you just like got me real tense.
Well, I hate to say this, but I was texting with our buddy Bill
I
Oren.
know.
And he was asking me more Wayne Tinkle things because I asked him last week and we were texting about it. And I said, I don't know, man. Like, I get it. Kyle Smith lost. His roster got gutted this year to
Yeah.
NIL portal stuff.
Yep.
And he seems
And
to
it's
be
our
okay.
best team he's had.
Yeah. And he goes, well, basically, I'm just, paraphrasing. He's like, well, that's fine until Kyle Smith leaves. And then what's Wazoo? And I'm like, fair point. But
Right.
what if he stays?
Right. And we've known that, so I've let that go. But it was the fact that you mentioned Ohio State. And that's just basketball. It's because when you say Ohio State, I think football, which in turn I know has a ton of money to spread all around the other sports. that if Ohio State really wants a college basketball coach, they can get it.
Yeah, but
because that's what they can do in football.
But you can win at Ohio State in hoops.
Of course you can. You were about to say Thad Matta.
Thad Matta
was an excellent
good,
coach
yeah.
at Ohio State.
Yes.
Yeah.
Had some good seasons.
Yeah.
I believe he was the coach that got to the title game, right?
Yes.
With Odin?
With Odin and Conley.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Ohio State's a good program.
Yep.
Just down in the dumps. Holtman didn't do a very good job, and now they have to hit restart.
Yeah, and Big Ten basketball used to be great. It's been down over the last couple of years. Now it's all Big 12 and a little bit SEC, but Big Ten hoops was always a big deal for me, especially as a Pac-12 guy, because that's my rival conference.
Big Ten hoops good in the regular season.
Yes,
largely the most disappointing conference every tournament.
Yes. A couple teams now and then make a run. Michigan will make a run now and then. Ohio State makes a run now and then. But yeah, largely Michigan State, largely disappointing.
What is the
like Indiana's in that conference and they're garbage.
What's the overall consensus then? So you're saying underappreciated Calipari?
I think he'll be underappreciated at the end of the day.
You know, I would dare to say spicy bold take by you.
Yep, I would say too. Because I think he will be accurately remembered.
Properly rated. Okay. So underrated, properly rated.
You want to sweep this around? Go full overrated?
God, it's
hard to overrate a dude with a chip.
It is.
It is.
But again, the talent discrepancy between him and his opponents in most games and tournaments.
But sometimes winning a chip is just like Gary Williams was a great, great coach at Maryland.
Yeah.
Great coach. But he is not in the upper echelon of guys that only have one title. But he had a starting five that came together at the right time.
That has to kill Calipari, though, right? That him and Gary Williams and Tubby Smith have the same amount of chips.
Yep.
Because the dude's been so massive in that game.
Billy Donovan has more.
Well, Billy Donovan's a great coach.
I know, but Billy Donovan coached for half the time that Calipari's been at Kentucky.
When you get yourself a Corey Brewer, a Joakim Noah, and an Al Horford, you tend to figure it out.
Yeah,
you know. I don't know. College hoops has been a little fun this year.
Yeah,
for
man,
me.
it's great. It's wide open. I mean, it's cool. Like Mountain West has all these teams. You know, you've got like the Dayton Flyers are back. So some of these, I know they lost last night, but some of these, Creighton looks good. Like some of these mid majors that we know, look good. Like Gonzaga is going to be a wildly interesting team to watch in the tournament because they've struggled against big teams and they've got some weird losses. We'll see them tonight.
They have one quad one win this season.
Joey Brackets has them one of the last four in.
That's their issue, but it came at Rupp Arena against Kentucky.
Yep.
Hey,
that's a big one.
So they get St. Mary's in the regular season finale, and then might get them again in Vegas.
Down year for Gonzaga, and they won at Kentucky.
Yep.
Way to bring that conversation full circle right there. Which is also, by the way, the danger and the negative of Calipari is he did embrace the one and done and put everybody into that world. And yet it's kind of been his undoing.
Yep.
Because it's hard to win with freshmen.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to win with sophomores and freshmen. You need more juniors. You need some seniors. You see, experience matters a lot. That's why people love UConn this year. They brought a lot of those guys back, and they were just there a year ago.
Your best freshman and sophomore, they never get to junior, senior because they go to the league.
Yeah. Yep.
Whether they do well in the league or not, they
Doesn't
never
matter.
get there.
Yeah. His goal is to get you there, and then he wants to push you in the league so he can be at the NBA draft and say, "Look what I
do." Yeah,
these are my guys.
Totally.
Yeah.
But he's got to have the right collection of the freshmen to make it work.
I can't wait for Shaden Sharp to win his third title in Portland and Calipari to be there and be like, hey, look what I did for you. And he's like, I didn't even play for you at all.
Who are you again?
I chose to sit out
What'd
instead
you
of play for you. All right. That's going to do it. College hoops. We get a little bit more maybe in the final hour. You mentioned a conference that's very interesting to me and something I've been just hammering home on Oregon State in regards to the conference you mentioned. We'll talk about that in the final hour. Coming up next, is this a surprise or expected? Next on The Fan.
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. Dirt and Sprague with you. P. Harris hanging out with us today. We got Ken Barkley at 8 and Ryan Clark of the Oregonian going to join us at 7:30 in hour number 2. One of our listeners tagged us in a tweet. I just saw this at Shrek PDX. First league to have the virtual sports experience. Apple Vision is, of course, going to be partnered with the MLS because the Apple TV partnership with the MLS season pass. And so if you have Apple Vision, again, it's $3,500. But if you have it, it sounds like they're going to give you a really unique experience that we've never had before.
For how much money Apple is giving Leo Messi, I need a camera strapped to him. That's the POV I want.
Okay. I thought you were going to go somewhere else with the strap with Leo Messi.
No, but right? I mean, if you're going to give this guy $1 billion or whatever the end contract
Basically
value
is what he's going to get, yeah.
and I can wear these goggles to
Sure.
watch the MLS, put a camera on the dude.
But what if it feels like you're 8 rows up? I hear what you guys are saying about POV. I just see like 8 rows up at a sporting event. If that is like crystal clear, I'm seeing sweat drip down, I'm hearing it. I that's good enough for me. I don't need a POV. I'd actually prefer not to have the POV because then I don't see what the other players are doing at all times.
I mean, I know you can't go to all of them, but I'd just rather be at the game. I think that would make me yearn to be at the game more.
Yeah, but these aren't for like every game.
Sure.
You could still go to the game. It's just for the nights
Like
like
if
you're feeling a little lazy.
Yeah, if the Blazers are in Oklahoma City and you're like, oh, can I get some good eyes on SGA?
But that would be cool if you could do
Yeah.
it as a road team. If your
Yeah.
team's on the road, you feel like you're on the road trip with them. That'd be kind of cool.
Couch tour, as we call it in the music world.
I would be curious to see what it actually, like how enveloped. Do I actually feel like I'm there, or is it?
No, I'm telling you.
You can turn to the left and to the right and like see fans sitting next to you.
You guys should watch the YouTube videos of like what this capability is with technology. It's amazing. I think people are going to become addicted to it, and it's going to be awful in a lot of ways. But for experiences like that, like I've never been to New York. I want to go to New York. I've never been to New York. I've always wanted to go to a Knicks game. We might be going to New York this summer as a family. I got a cousin that just moved over there.
Right during the heart of the NBA season.
And that's the thing is I'm gonna miss a chance.
Right.
But like imagine the Blazers are at MSG and I can pay a $40 premium on top of whatever a ticket costs, and it makes me feel like I'm mid 100 level at MSG.
It'd be great.
It's something that
Ben
would be
Stiller's on the floor that night.
Yeah, I'll just be staring at him the whole time. Yeah, Spike Lee. Ooh, Chris Rock. Chris Rock just got here. I didn't get to my thing. I saw a nugget. I guess I could save this for the final hour as well. It was a baseball nugget.
Yep.
Very interesting baseball nugget.
I love baseball.
One that has a team with a better futures than the New York Yankees. And it's not a team that you would have picked to be better than the New York Yankees. Or maybe you would have.
I got some teams I'd take guesses on that.
To a listener's credit the other day, you know, the stupid, not smart baseball guy talking about baseball might not be in touch with this, but it surprised me listening to the team being picked over the Yankees. And I don't know, I just heard it and I was like, okay, all right, I guess. It feels depressing to me, but you're in on it. All right.
You want me to guess?
You can guess one, and if you're wrong, that's fine. I'll tell you who it is in the final hour. If you're right, we'll still talk about it in the final hour.
My guess is the Kansas City Royals.
No. Bobby Witt Jr.'s fun, though.
All right.
But no, it wasn't the Royals.
Okay.
I don't know if the Royals will be good, but this team is not the Royals.
Okay.
It's a different team. We have a loaded second hour of the show. I mentioned Ryan Clark of the Oregonians going to join us. We'll talk the Timbers kicking off their season and talk a little Oregon Ducks. He's covering both. He's kind of a dual beat guy. And so we'll talk with Ryan Clark at 7:30. But we're going to start the second hour. They're doing it again, and the lack of leadership is eye-opening. It's jarring almost at this point. They can't get out of their own way. Why is that? Hour number 2, Dirt and Sprague on the Fan.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, with the college football playoff expanding to 12 teams in 2024, there are rumors that proposals are being put forth to expand it to 14 teams by 2026, with the caveat that the Big Ten and SEC could each get 4 automatic berths. College hoops for you tonight in the region, right here on The Fan. Ducks trying to make a run to the tournament. They're in Palo Alto to face Stanford at 8 o'clock. We'll have pregame coverage at 7:30. Oregon State's across the bay in Berkeley to face the Cal Bears at 7 on the Pac-12 network. Over on 910 ESPN Portland, 5:30 pregame, 6 o'clock tip. The Portland Pilots hosting the Gonzaga Bulldogs. The Oregon State baseball team now 5-0 after a 10-4 thumping of 17th-ranked Texas Tech on Wednesday. They will take on number 2 Arkansas on Friday. Round 1 of the Mexico Open at Vedanta. This week's stop on the PGA Tour. 4 players right now tied at 1 under, including Justin Suh and S.H. Kim. Cameron Champ also at 1 under par. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Spirit Mountain Casino is the place to watch and wager on pro and college games every week. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
You're invited to play in the first annual
still feels like you're making people. This is what's funny. It's like that old saying, history repeats itself. I felt like yesterday reading people's reactions, and it's social media, but reading the reactions to, hey, we're going to go from 12 to 14 already. It felt like people were already like hearkening back to BCS. Can we just have 2? And then can we start caring about these bowl games that we used to care about? Like people go, hey, I remember the Rose Bowl with the Big Ten.
I said it yesterday. Like that's what it was every
people
year.
Forget though when we harken back to the days of remember when bowl games were special. It's because there were only about 17 of them, not 42.
Yes. Yeah.
So
you're not a galleryfurniture.com guy?
No, but you know what? You're right here.
Poulon Weed Eater Bowl.
And I'm being serious. Washington beating Texas in, was it the Sugar Bowl, right? It was in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big deal.
That's a big deal.
In any other point in my life.
Sugar Bowl is huge.
That's a massive deal.
Jonathan Smith in the Fiesta Bowl. Joey Harrington in the Fiesta Bowl.
Yes.
Gardner Minshew in the Fiesta Bowl. These are quarterbacks in the Pac-12. Some of them won. Some of them lost.
Sure.
Fiesta Bowl is a big deal.
And winning a bowl game like the Fiesta, like the Sugar, like, yeah, they lost the title game to Michigan. So what? Give them a parade. They won the damn Sugar Bowl, and they beat Texas. That's an awesome win.
And they don't care.
Yes.
Nobody else cares.
And then the fans are like, well, that's not enough. We needed the natty. And I know there are a lot of Husky fans that do care about that. But there's also a lot that go, did we get the natty, though?
Yeah,
no, we didn't. We lost.
We lost to that cheating Harbaugh.
And you don't throw parades for second place. So, like, college football, Pate's highlighted this. I disagree with Pate on a lot of elements of college football. But where he's nailed it is you have lost what has made you special.
Mm-hmm.
You killed a conference last year.
You're about to kill another one.
You're probably going to kill another one as my phone's going off.
Nicely done,
My
dude.
kid's going to school, so I got the ring update. You're killing it at the same moment that you're growing it. It is a wild thing to watch in real time that they are destroying the reasons that we love the sport as it continues to get bigger and more eyeballs are getting in front of it. It's a really weird thing to say. I think it's broken, and yet numbers suggest it's not. It's gotten bigger.
And I would actually argue that 16 is better than 14. I would do the jump from 12 to 16.
Whatever you get to and live with it. My thing is the part I have, two conferences shouldn't be guaranteed all those slots.
Right.
But they're the biggest conferences. They make the most money from these media.
They make the most money, but it doesn't mean they're access is the bigger deal for me than what the final number of teams is.
What are teams 5 and 6 in the Big Ten? Like we're gonna get like Illinois in on a random year.
Yeah, I believe
get Minnesota in
yes,
random year.
Unless there's some sort of threshold of, okay, we'll take up to 4 from you, but you have to have 10 wins or something like that where you're legitimate.
Yeah, you have to have 6 to get into a bowl. Why can't we do something like that?
Exactly.
The SEC is an easy one, right?
The SEC is easy.
Bama, Georgia, LSU, Auburn in any given year.
Florida in
Ole
any
Miss,
given year.
Florida if they have the right coach. Tennessee with
Kentucky.
But are they...
South Carolina.
The other thing is they all have to play
Clemson when they come.
Florida State have to play a similar style of non-conference or of regular season schedule.
We're still not doing that.
We're still not doing that. The SEC plays 8, the Big Ten plays 9.
Yes.
They have to come together on how they're going to structure their regular season schedule. You have to get rid in order to justify automatic bids to that degree. Then you have to agree that you can't. All your non-conference games are pretty much against the other,
the other
Big 10,
big
SEC, ACC, Big 12. There's no Sun Belt teams the week before your rivalry game.
And if you want a Sun Belt team, that's your week 0. Your week 0, week 1.
Well, Notre Dame, I just forgot to mention this yesterday, but like Notre Dame gets an advantage actually in this. I know everybody was like, no, they don't, man. They don't have a conference, so they can never be a top 4 team. Okay, cool. They also aren't technically in a conference, but they basically get to use one like a hooker, and they don't play a conference title game.
Yeah.
So they get multiple buys in a season when other teams don't.
Right.
So like, boo-hoo, Notre Dame.
And they have
shut up and deal with the things you have.
And
you don't want to be in a conference, you get punished for that. You also don't play a conference title game. You should be punished for that.
And they have built in games, traditional games that can give you status. Now Stanford's really down, but Stanford used to not be down.
Well, those were good
And
games.
USC, like
Sure.
you've got games built in. You play
Yes.
Michigan, you play Penn State.
I'm not mad at their schedule.
Right.
Their schedule, I've always given them credit. Their schedule, including the non-conference,
I'm
is
with
good.
you. Go cry wolf somewhere else. You mad about this? Then do something
But
about
you don't
it.
want to be in a conference, but you want to use a conference for the shielding of a conference.
You want to play by your rules, but you
Yeah.
want their rules to adapt to
It's
you.
ridiculous.
No, get over yourself.
Um,
Plus, Notre Dame football doesn't mean anything in the last 20 years. Let's be real.
well, no, that's not true either. They've been good.
They've been good.
They've been to the playoff a few times, and they won a title game.
And gotten blown out every time.
Has your team been there? My team hasn't been there.
No, fair.
Oregon's only been there a couple
Fair,
times,
but
too.
I can get blown out in that game, too.
I've always said this. I would have rather been the year Oklahoma got stomped by that LSU team, the greatest college football team I've ever seen. I said it that year. You would rather, and that back then, what year was that? 19?
Yeah.
That showed you in the moment how broken that sport had become. I was saying out loud, you'd rather go to the playoff and get stomped by LSU than go win a Rose Bowl.
Huskies tell me that every time. They're like, we've been to the playoff twice. What do we care?
It doesn't, well, because it's a brag point of like, we got to that Final
We got
Four.
there better than you.
Yes, because nobody cares about these other bowl games if they're not playoff games. How you got here is pretty easy, and the guy to fix it might be available. No leadership. Next on The Fan.
The Herd with color.
one.
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Ryan Clark of the Oregonian will join us at 7:30. We'll talk. Actually, I'm probably going to kick off the interview. I'm curious what he makes of this. This situation of college football, of a growing sport while it's broken, is interesting to me. We all bitched and moaned about the All-Star game, and then the NBA said, and all these networks said, we had more people watch this year than last year. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess the TikTok crowd got excited for no defense. Your microphone's not on there, sir.
Excuse me while I go F
The
myself.
red light.
The
means
red
it's
light.
on.
Yeah.
Have
Sorry.
you done this before?
First time.
First time, long time.
First time, long time. About
Okay.
5'6", 245.
Adam Schefter.
Not really.
I don't cite him too much unless it's like breaking NFL news. I find him to be a corporate shill. But I thought he had a really good point here. He reported that USC's running back coach, Keel McDonald, is heading to the Chargers with Harbaugh to do the same job.
Okay.
And I've noticed this too, so I was glad he tweeted this out. He said a trend that has emerged this winter. Many college coaches are tired of the portal, the NIL money, and the new NCAA world, and would prefer to work in the NFL. I know Bill O'Brien just bounced from Ohio State to BC, and he stayed in college football. But Schefter's right here. There's a lot of position coaches that are jumping ship and getting the hell out of it. I don't know how you navigate this world. This sport's broken, and I think when we debate these, is it 14? Is it 16? Do we go back to 4? Should we let the computers do it and get to 2? Wherever you're at on that argument, what we can all agree on, I don't think this is even debatable. What we're seeing in that sport is no leadership.
No.
They have
There hasn't been
no
ever, really.
real leadership. They can't. They're commissioned by 5 people.
Yeah.
And then they allow like group of 5 people to be in the room, but they don't really care about their voices. And then it's the networks. So it's 8 people plus some committee members plus some network heads. And that's what's running the sport. It is a broken sport because they don't have clear and fundamental leadership. Sankey thinks he's the guy. And largely you could say he's the guy of the guys, but he's not the guy. Petiti is also in this category because the Big Ten and the SEC are the biggest of dogs.
Sure.
But they're suffering from no leadership. And I said this when he announced it, and I'm going to say it again. If this man chooses to really lock in the way he did as a coach in his next profession, even though he's old, he can be one of the best. This sport, and I cannot believe I'm saying this out loud, Nick Saban needs to be the college football czar.
Yeah.
Nick Saban needs to fix this sport. Nick Saban knows, and I actually believe this. I think Nick Saban would do what is right by the sport. He got out of it because, well, he wasn't feeling it as much at his age. He also talked about having to recruit his own roster every year, dealing with the NIL stuff, and just the ever-changing landscape of the sport. It even got to him eventually, but he still wants to be attached to it. He chimed in this morning. It's basically acknowledging what we're talking about. It is a broken situation.
Saying they're not called student athletes.
They're not student athletes anymore. And he's not wrong there. I'd argue they haven't been for a long, long time. But now that the money's public, we know it.
Right.
You need leadership. If there's anything I have learned through watching this, as much as I love this sport, and I love it, I talk about it probably too much for people. They are suffering from no leadership. And you see it every time they meet.
Yeah, I think one I love that idea. I absolutely do. And we were talking about Calipari last hour in how he's looked back on, and he embraced the one and done, kind of really pushed the one and done, but then all of a sudden couldn't keep up with it. The argument for Saban is the opposite. Is Saban did it the old way, he did it the hush way, and he did it the legit way. Like, he's won at all stages. He's won natties at all stages, dealt with all the different, whether it's BCS or college football playoff 4 teams or whatever it's going to be. He's dealt with all of it, and he's won. He's had to recruit his own roster. He's had number 1 recruiting classes. He has seen it all. And if you need somebody that's seen it all, do it. Because right now, this is where I think kind of Sankey and Petiti, this is where it gets kind of fishy. They're going into no man's land. They're going into a world that they don't know yet. You know, they want 7 teams in each of their conference to get in. What happens on the year where their conference is very, very top heavy?
Well,
it's not.
that's been the Big Ten, though.
Right,
Like, people
and-
don't want to say that out loud. That's been the Big Ten for some time
Exactly,
now. You've had
and-
Michigan and Ohio State. And yeah, you've had
You
a
get
couple
Penn State flirts, Wisconsin flirts,
Yeah,
and
Michigan State might flirt,
Right.
but those are coming and going. They're not consistent enough. Penn State's been a good program,
Like-
but Franklin can't win this big game. And you look at his record, and I said this year that them and Washington were kind of neck and neck. Penn State's schedule, they take care of the Patsies, they can't win. They're like that in-between player who's kind of too good for the G League,
right,
but not quite an NBA guy. And he's like stuck in this sports purgatory.
right.
That's kind of what Penn State's been.
And so what is the Big Ten gonna do when they push this to 14 to try to get 6 teams in, and they get 3 teams in, and the Big 12 is like, oh, we snuck 5 teams in this year. Boy, that's gonna piss them off real bad, and it ain't nobody's fault but yours.
Swag, if I gave you an opportunity to hire Nick Saban as the czar, the Goodell, the Adam Silver,
Commissioner.
do you think he would do a good job? Is that somebody you'd
Yes.
like?
Yeah. I think he genuinely cares for, appreciates the history of the sport. He was in all sorts of different, he coached his way up just like a lot of guys did. Several different stops along the way, small colleges into bigger colleges, and eventually the biggest one. But he, I think, as much as anybody, would do things and make decisions what he genuinely thought was best for the sport overall.
And to your point, Sprague, earlier you were talking about how it's sexier for guys to leave college and go to the NFL. That's why Harbaugh's gone. That's why Saban's gone. You know, I don't think Herb's coming back.
Oh,
Like
no, that
these,
ship
like
has
the
gotta
like
be
these
sold.
old guys, like they're done. They're gone. This is a Dan Lanning type game now because they're young enough to grow up in the we know everybody's getting the McDonald's bag. We know how this works. And they are more down to do that grind.
Well,
The old guys like doing it behind the scenes. They don't like being exposed. And so I think you need, as these young guys are going to infiltrate and get higher up in the ranks and start winning natties and stuff like that, you need somebody that kind of understood how you got here to be on top.
I think the tough thing with that, though, is like you mentioned Dan Lanning. He's a good
Mhm.
example locally. He's recruiting at an elite level.
Mhm.
He's wired for it. He's younger.
He's got the money, obviously, that helps, but he's embraced the NIL
Well,
to
but-
where all these older dudes are like, man, I hate this.
Yeah, yes, some of the older people are getting out of the game, but to me, it's not just age. It's your collectives, right? It's
Yeah.
not only are you recruiting other players on other teams, high school players, and your own roster, you also have to be internally saying, is our NIL collective together enough?
Right.
Is are we organized? Like to say out loud to you guys, you know Louisville's collective is better than Florida's?
That's insane.
It's
You're lying.
nuts. No, it is. They are more organized and structured at Louisville for their
For all-
NIL portal
For
stuff.
all athletics.
For the NIL collective, they are more together
That's
than
insane.
Florida.
That's insane.
You've seen it. Louisville's come up, they get to their title game. Florida, they're in the dumps.
Yeah.
They're in the middle of the bottom of the barrel of the SEC, and that's a school I grew up seeing nothing but success
And they
with.
just hit the rankings in college basketball and lost last night.
That's not
Or
it's
2
not
nights ago.
just a coaching thing. Coaching is a massive part of that. I'm not trying to downplay it,
Right.
but that is another part of this world is,
Yeah.
hey, do we have our S together in this department? Because if we don't, this other school is going to kick our ass, and they're still going to take some of our guys or get guys that we want with ours. We'll get back into this at 7:45. Ryan Clark, Oregonian, covers the Timbers and the Ducks. Talk to Ryan Clark of the Oregonian for the Daily Ticker next, but first, Swag with a sports update.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Vulcan Design and Construction. Check out their award-winning outdoor living designs or schedule your free design consultation at vulcandc.com. First on The Fan, the 5+7 model is barely approved to expand the 12-team college football playoff, and now there's reports that there's a push for a 14-team model being thrown about. Part of the deal would be 4 automatic berths apiece for the Big Ten and SEC. If approved, it could start in 2026. College hoops all up and down the state tonight here on the Fan. The depleted Ducks trying to mount a run for a spot in the field of 68 are on the farm at Stanford. 8 o'clock tip pregame coverage at 7:30. Beavs across the bay in Berkeley. They'll face the Cal Bears at 7 on the Pac-12 Network. Then on 910 ESPN Portland at 5:30, it's the Portland Pilots hosting the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Tip set for 6 p.m. PGA Tour starts its journey east. They stop south of the border this week for the Mexico Open at Vedanta. Round 1 underway. Cameron Champ has grabbed the early lead, 3 under through 5. One shot ahead of Andrew Novak, S.H. Kim, and Cristobal del Solar. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swaga from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Spirit Mountain Casino is the place to watch and wager on pro and college games every week. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
It's The Fan on FM. Go to 99. And Sprague visit the insiders that are covering the stories you've heard about, and some you haven't.
How'd you do that? Actually, I'm not even mad. It's amazing.
The Daily Ticker with Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. It is Daily Ticker time here on Portland Sports Leader 1080 The Fan. Excited for Ryan Clark to join us. He covers the Oregon Ducks and the Big Ten for the Oregonian, also co-host of the Soccer Made and PDX podcast and Ducks Confidential podcast. Find him on Twitter at Ryan T. Clark. There's an E at the end of that Clark, by the way. Make sure you give him a follow. He's great. He's covering multiple things here, and he joins us now. Ryan, good morning. Thanks for hopping on with us. I know it's really early, so I appreciate the time. We were talking about just hiring Nick Saban as a college football czar and saying, hey, man, can you fix this, please? It's a growing sport. and in many ways feels very broken. What's your read on college football right now as they're already talking about expansion of a playoff, even though they haven't even started the next expansion of their playoff?
Yeah, I mean, college football as an institution is rapidly changing with so much money going around, and a positive aspect is that a portion of that money is now finally going to the players who have made all of this happen over the last several decades. But at the same time, the institution in general is in a very strange spot and is in peril in some ways. Look, I mean, there are schools that are getting left behind as these super conferences get put together. I cover the Oregon Ducks, but you think about what has happened to the Oregon State Beavers and other schools who, if they don't join these special conferences and their alliances and everything else, then they sort of get left behind and left by the wayside. And college football obviously is the driver for revenue for all of these schools, right? It's what allows them to be profitable or at least break even because of just the sheer interest and the money going around there. And right now, like with the expanded playoff, if you're not in that sort of inner circle in one of those elite super conferences, if you will, it's difficult to get in even with the expansion. And the balance in the coming years for college football is going to be about caring about a quality product that keeps tradition at the forefront while also, of course, dealing with what is very obviously a profit motive here to keep this thing profitable for the people involved.
So it's about the almighty dollar at this point and not in the best interest maybe of fans and the sport itself. You also do the Soccer Made in PDX podcast. I think people were excited that you were going to continue that on, even though you're covering, as you mentioned, the Ducks and the Big Ten here. Timber season's about to kick off. It's a new regime, a new moment. They haven't made the playoffs in 2 years. How are we feeling about the Timbers going into the season?
The Timbers themselves are optimistic. Fans on the outside are, I think, warily optimistic, right? The idea being that, year in and year out, the Timbers talk a lot about, I think we were better than our results last year. So this year is the real test of whether that's true, because they've got Phil Neville coming in as the new head coach. Came in under a bit of controversy with the fans not necessarily wanting his hire due to some sexist tweets that he posted several years ago. But he introduced himself to the community, and look, the players around the Timbers organization, when you talk to them and even the people that work in the organization, they're excited about this sort of new era. Obviously, several years of success under Gio Savarese, but Phil Neville comes in, a few new signings. Kamal Miller, center back, is somebody that they're excited about. Goalkeeper Maxime Crepeau, who comes to the Timbers by way of LAFC. They're excited about him as well. And then the big hype last few days, particularly at Media Day for the Timbers, was a new designated player striker that's on the way for them. No name yet, but essentially the only rumor we've seen has been Jonathan Rodriguez, a 30-year-old Uruguayan striker from Club America in Mexico. So a lot of moving parts. Roster has changed a bit from last year, not necessarily as stagnant as maybe the roster's been in previous years. So they're excited, and look, they want to make the playoffs and think that they have the guns to do it.
Ryan, in watching this, I was one of those people that was very skeptical about Neville coming in, but he had some decent success with the women's national team in England. Do you think, as things fell apart last season, do you think Neville will be the bigger change for this team, or does it simply break down to the new designated players coming in? Is it more of a player thing? Because it sounded like Gio's message kind of was getting lost. Is Neville the right guy to push it, or does this team just really need a roster revamp?
I think it's definitely a mix. I think that Neville could be that guy for sure. He hasn't had necessarily a proven track record in MLS yet. Obviously, with Inter Miami, they struggled, and he was fired mid-season before they eventually brought in Tata Martino to coach Inter Miami. And of course, we all know all the other folks that showed up at Miami with Messi and all his buddies down there.
Pals.
All of his pals who are taking over MLS. But but yeah, I mean, I think it's in part, how Neville meshes with these guys, how his system fits the current roster and the roster that he inherited from Gio Savarese. But I do think that a change in personnel was absolutely necessary, and I think that the Timbers patched up some of those areas. Now, the DP striker, the amount of hype around him has been pretty real from the people in the Timbers organization over the last few days. Who it ends up being and how they end up contributing, we'll see. But that's the biggest change, is having a lethal goal scorer up top, which has not necessarily been the case over the last couple of years. You pair him with a guy like Evander, who they brought in for a club record signing in the midfield, and they solidified the back line with Miller and then Crepeau in goal. So if they stay healthy and Neville meshes well with this group, yeah, I think that they definitely could get into the playoffs and make a solid run. But all the chips have to fall a certain way, and in MLS they rarely do. So
Ryan Clark is our guest here, Oregonian, OregonLive.com. He covers the Ducks and the Big Ten for the Oregonian. Also still co-hosting the Soccer Made in PDX podcast.
Listener
and,
right here, listener of that
P1s
podcast.
and Ducks Confidential podcast as well. Find him on Twitter at Ryan T. Clark.
And Ryan, I'll get you out on this Timbers note. Fan favorites, for me at least, obviously Diego Chara. I hope we build a statue of him outside one day. And I've always been a longtime Eric Williamson fan. The injuries are obviously a massive concern, especially when you think about his potential for the U.S. national team. Looking at that defensive midfield there, as Chara's getting older and as Williamson is coming off another bad injury, where does your faith lie between those two in terms of production?
Right, and in terms of how Neville envisions this roster, one of his biggest challenges is going to be who to play in central midfield and where to play them. Right, Evander slotted in more as a number 10, as an attacking midfielder, and that's probably where he's best suited behind an elite striker. But he liked to drop back a bit as well, and so you think about a guy like Williamson, who's been primarily a defensive midfielder for the Timbers. He's talked recently about how Neville has him playing everywhere, basically up and down the field. So that could change game to game for Eric. I think Eric's fully healthy and really excited about this year, and could be one of Portland's most important players. How he meshes with Char will be interesting. I think that the most likely situation would be him paired with Diego as the sort of 6 and 8 for the Timbers in the starting lineup. And then you think about other players like Christian Paredes or is going to be in the mix. He was the supporters player of the year last year and started the majority of the games, and he was really productive. And David Ajala is coming back from injury, young Argentine player who they're really excited about, but didn't get a chance at that last year due to those injuries. So it's crowded at the position, but I do think that the Timbers can make it work and have no shortage of talent there. The question will obviously be, is Diego Chara going to continue to be the ageless wonder that he's been in the last few years? I mean, the guy said he wants to play till he's 40 and is showing no signs of slowing down. So it'll be interesting to see how all of those players fit together. But I do think that Diego Chara and Eric Williamson are probably the most likely to start in that area of the field.
Ryan, we were hoping to get you on more and more as the year goes on. College football, we know you're covering the Ducks and the Big Ten. Get you out of here on this. Coach, right now, February 22nd, I ask you, coach, that you're most looking forward to talking to at B1G Media Day is who in football?
Wow. I would honestly, it's funny that I would pick this given that they're the team that I cover, but I'm just excited to meet Dan Lanning. I look forward to seeing behind the curtain there and sort of getting a true picture of the vision that he's got, because
bring cigars.
I'll bring the cigars for sure, because the guy, what he's building down in Oregon is genuinely exciting. I'm excited to hear from Ryan Day too. I think that Ohio State is probably the odds-on favorite in the Big Ten, other than maybe the Ducks next season. And to hear from him as the conference changes and these new schools like Oregon, Washington come in and want to compete, and then Michigan, of course, having to deal with the post Harbaugh era. Like, I'm interested to hear what he has to say. So it's an exciting time for the Ducks, frankly, and I think that going into the Big Ten, they have a real chance to compete and potentially win the conference right out of the gate.
Do me a favor, get some water and rub it on Ryan Day's beard. We need to get this dye job off of it. That man needs to accept that he's got grays in his hair. It's okay. Ryan Clark, our guest, OregonLive.com, Oregonian covering the Ducks, Big Ten, and of course, still doing Soccer Made and PDX with a Timbers preview as well on Twitter at Ryan T. Clark. Ryan, thanks for the time, man, this morning. We always appreciate it, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
All right, there we go. Ryan Clark, Oregonian, OregonLive.com. Read a couple thoughts from the Vancouver Ford text line, and the excitement is a-buzzing right now. We'll talk about it next on The Fan.
Who's stinking it up?
Woo! Do not go in there.
It's time for Who's Stinking It Up, a sports lowlight that's ripped from the headlines.
We couldn't do diddly poo.
Brought to you by Three Mountains Plumbing. Schedule your appointment online at threemountainsplumbing.com.
I still mess with the Bears. I'm just trying to take a little break. I'm following the Bears and the NFL, bro. I'm not just trying to have football on my timeline. Like, I know y'all mess with a girl, EQ, especially you. Just because you don't follow the girl on IG don't mean you're not messing with her.
Yeah, there's Justin Fields, Bears quarterback right now, saying he only unfollowed him because he was tired of seeing all the football on his feed. It doesn't mean anything more than that. That's on the St. Brown's podcast.
Yeah, and I only slip DMs into girls I'm not following.
Yeah, really weird explanation.
Really strange.
We're not buying. You're getting traded to Atlanta. We all know it.
You want out. They want you out. Yeah. Just say, yeah, I'm just prepping for the future.
Who's stinging it up? Justin Fields' explanation brought to you by Three Mountains Plumbing. Like plumbing and electrical services, they're delightful. Get your time back. Let the pros tackle those projects. Schedule an appointment online at Three Mountains Plumbing. That's threemountainsplumbing.com.
where Dirt and Sprague crunch the hot topics you want to hear.
What's the pressure? Don't sit here and act like there's no... We get nervous teeing off in front of a gallery on the 10th hole at Eastmoreland.
Crunch Time, brought to you by Crunch Fitness, with memberships as low as $9.99 per month. Find your Crunch Time in Portland, Vancouver, and online at crunch.com.
All right, welcome back in. 7:51. We have a listener. Wow, Oregon State women's basketball on Tuesday and MLS today. Talk about ratings killers. Yeah, number one morning show in the market, top 15 in the country. Yeah, we know what we're doing. We're okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Just blame me.
I don't need to blame. I would have done that if you were not here. They're great stories.
God damn, Harris.
One thought on the college football stuff. One quick and easy way to make a huge difference for the better in college football is to eliminate the early transfer portal window and just tell every single player they have to wait until after Spring Bowl to transfer. That way, every single school has their coaching situation and draft situation figured out, and everybody is playing with the same talent pool. That's been long talked about.
It's super fair.
Could you change the window here? Because that's where coaches are just getting pissed. It's like, when is this? Can we cut this off at some point?
Exactly. I mean, even the NFL, there's a free agent window.
Yep.
There's a window to franchise tag guys. Then there's the combine. Then there's the draft.
European
scheduled.
soccer is buku dollars.
Yeah,
and
there's transfer windows. There's 2 per year, 2 or 3. I know there's 2. But yeah, if you then open the transfer portal once the national championship is now played, I think it's January 20th or something now. So most of all the other coaching situations have been handled. And you open it up there for, I don't know how many days it needs to be open, 30, 45, whatever it is. But then people can settle down after the heat of a season and I didn't play and blah, 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 blah. And people quit making emotional decisions based on the right in the situation, and they got a chance to get more information and then go about it. But I think some structure, it's the same thing with the NIL. All they want is some structure, and they want consistency, and they want uniform protocols that every school will abide by, no matter what state you're in, no matter if you're public or private. Here's how we're going to do it. And just then everybody can play by the same rules.
Well, I think that's ultimately maybe your biggest challenge in that sport is you're not. I mean, Quinn Ewers is a good example of this, the quarterback at Texas. He went to Ohio State first. He went to Ohio State because he could make the money. He wasn't allowed to do that at Texas. So he early enrolls. He goes to Ohio State just for the paycheck. I don't care what anybody tells you. That was just to go get the $1 million deal. And then he went to the school he wanted to go to in Texas, but he had to wait that year. So you're already dealing with different state laws, collectives.
Boy, who's the first one that gets in a serious tax nightmare?
Well, conference games, like Pac-12 had to play 9, SEC's playing 8. Like, this is my point on leadership. You cannot even agree on the most basic of things.
Right.
And you're all trying to go in the same direction while 2 people are trying to go in their own direction. It's a very messy thing. Somebody had chimed in and said, if this was Southern radio, people would be pleasuring themselves to what we were saying. You're damn right, Feinbaum.
There's that Apple Vision Pro right there, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Can you split screen it? Porn on one side, SEC championship on the other.
Somebody said, I think college football is heading in the right direction. They're taking an S path through it, though. They need to stop with the conference thought and move now to football being its own thing and allowing the remaining sports to be the conferences. There is way too much focus on conferences. Ditch that. The picture becomes a lot clearer. I saw yesterday Florida women's lacrosse, which is not a sport many of you probably think about. They're not in the SEC. They're competing in a different conference for women's lacrosse.
Yeah, probably because there's not enough SEC teams playing lacrosse. This is what I was saying yesterday. Like, you guys, you know what you're doing, so just go do it. You know, like, why all this pomp and circumstance?
They like to drag their feet.
Yeah,
they like to drag this
why
out.
are we, like,
Well, the
trying
problem
to act like
is
we're good guys? You killed a conference.
Yeah.
You killed a conference. You're about to kill another one. You are so bloodthirsty that just go.
Swag, you share the final thought.
Well,
We'll
the
go to Ken
problem
Barkley.
is, whose call is it to finally go and cut football loose? I don't know.
Is that a network conference commissioner?
I have no idea. I don't
think
know
it
if there's
is.
legal things. If you divorce yourself from the NCAA,
Yeah.
what happens?
You
what
gotta
you
pay
have
it
to
like
do?
a buyout almost.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's part of the problem of not having consolidated leadership. Whose call is it? Is it ESPN and Fox if they just go, here, let's just go do our own thing?
Well, they helped get us here.
But if you do that and you take it out of the realm of the NCAA, now are the players actually employees? Do you have to negotiate a union, all that sort of stuff, where under the NCAA, they're student athletes, so we don't have to negotiate that.
I know ultimately a lot of fans in our area are fans of teams that are really good in this sport. I think there are some people that live in the world of like, just go win a national championship. That's all I care about at this point. That's fine. You care about that. At some point, you will miss what this was. You will. You just will. Your whole life has been connected to these matchups and these rivalries and the pageantry of it. And you're never going to capture that against Maryland.
No.
Even Penn State. It's a good team. It's a good game.
The whiteout against Iowa was rad. Like when you get there and it's the whiteout on a Saturday night, Iowa rolls in, you're like, this is gorgeous. And they beat them 31-0.
Sure.
And Iowa sucks. And Penn State can't beat anybody of actual value.
Well, Penn State's got their own problems. They're trying to name their field Joe Paterno Stadium or whatever. And it's like, yeah, you have fun with that, you disgusting, sick SOBs. All right. Coming up next, we have a loaded final hour. Ken Barkley's going to kick it off. You better you bet. Our BetQL Odyssey Gambling Insider. Get his read on the college basketball tournament around the corner. MLB futures, college football futures. Ken Barkley is next. Hour number 3, Dirt and Sprague on the Fan.
Taste the warmth of the season with Victory.
Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on the Fan, even before the college football season begins with the new expanded 12-team college football plan. Reports surfaced that from those meetings on Tuesday, a 14-team model is being thrown around that would have the Big Ten and SEC each getting 4 automatic berths. If approved, it could start as soon as 2026. College hoops in the West tonight. Here on the Fan, the depleted Ducks are trying to make a run to the field of 68. They're on the farm at Stanford for an 8 o'clock tip. Our pregame coverage starts at 7:30. Beavers across the bay in Berkeley. They'll take on the Cal Bears at 7 on the Pac-12 Network. Over on 910 ESPN Portland at 5:30. Portland Pilots hosting Gonzaga. Tip set for 6 p.m. Top 10 ranked Oregon State baseball team remain undefeated with a 10-4 thumping of 17th ranked Texas Tech. On Friday, they will take on number 2 Arkansas. PGA Tour is south of the border this week. It is the Mexico Open at Vedanta. Cameron Champ is 5 under through 7 holes. He's got a 2-shot lead over Andrew Novak and Justin Suh. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigard from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Spirit Mountain Casino is the place to watch and wager on pro and college games every week. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
One number does it all for contests and texting your favorite fan shows. The Vancouver Ford text line is 503-864-6FAN.
Who wants cream? Nobody? Okay, no cream.
This is Dirt and Sprague.
Guys, we've made a great effort so far. Let's just keep it up. That's right. We can't have anyone freak out there, okay? We've got to keep our composure. We've got too far. There's too much to lose. We've got to keep our composure.
With Andy Dirt Johnson and Brendan Sprague.
A lot of pressure. You got to rise above it. You got to harness in the good energy, block out the bad. Harness, energy, block, bad. Feel the flow happy. Feel it. It's circular.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080.
Hey, guys. Oh, big gulps, huh? All right. Well, see you later.
The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. Final hour radio program. Dirt and Sprague here on Portland Sports Leader, 1080 The Fan, the Odyssey app, and YouTube. 99.5 HD2 as well. A lot to get into here in the final hour of the show, including a ticket giveaway. We'll give you a heads up on that. But joining us now, as he does every Thursday, is Ken Barkley. You better, you bet. BetQL, Odyssey Gambling Sports Insider, one of our favorites on Twitter, at Lockie Lockerson. I still haven't sent the gift basket for our Michigan bet. I apologize profusely for that, Ken. I'll get right on it. I want to start in the NCAA tournament. It is around the corner. We're getting closer and closer to conference tournaments. We played a bunch of audio from yesterday's action, which was pretty exciting. We had some upsets, some close games. You had Colin Wilson, who's a good friend of this show as well, on, and you highlighted it on your Twitter account, but I heard the interview. And he highlights having 3 valuable pieces on a team, and he gives you these lists of teams that kind of qualify in this. And I agreed with your tweet. I thought it was a good point. It makes me as a, tournament observer think about different teams that I don't watch as much. But I wanted to ask you, that information's valuable. How valuable is who is the coach? We talked about Calipari earlier today and where he sits for people because he loses games that sometimes people don't think he should. He has the one chip. How much does coaching value into your tournament picks versus what you also are observing with the team and with the game itself?
That's a great question. Also, can you send me my damn gift basket? Can we get that going, please?
Can I be fully transparent with you, Ken?
Did you forget what happened?
No, I had your address on a sticky note the day we asked it to get it from you on my
really secure. Thanks.
on my laptop. And this is going to make you feel even worse. I'm pretty sure it's at the bottom of my backpack, but I don't have it on my laptop anymore. So I need to get your address again, and I will lock it in my phone. Yeah, it is
an important guest. Thought I was somebody you guys like to have on the show sometimes. I can't even get a gift basket.
We begged to have you on after football season, actually. We're like, hey.
I got the text, and I was like, man, they really sound like they want me to come back on. Like, I wouldn't say desperate, because, hey, there's plenty of fish in the sea from a guest standpoint. But I was like, man, yeah, they're, pretty into this. This is pretty funny.
That was the actual gift basket of just making you feel like you were wanted.
It was a basket full of compliments, basically, is what happened. And, so just to answer your question about coaching, I think it's a really good question, because I think you're just as likely to be really right as you are to be really wrong. So here's what I mean by that. Like, if you bet against Matt Painter every time in the tournament, you are going to feel like the biggest super genius that's ever lived,
because they have lost every conceivable matchup that you can create where Purdue would have an advantage. He's blown it. And they've lost. They lost to a 16. They lost to a 14. In the third round with a week to prepare, they lost to a 15, St. Peter's. Like, they've done it all from a losing standpoint. So if you're just like, man, I'm not betting Purdue, like, you've looked really good. At the same time, like Tony Bennett in Virginia, Tony Bennett is Matt Painter with a title. Every year that they didn't win the title, he flamed out against a terrible team. It's happened 18 times. Like blown leads on Easter Sunday a while ago. They blew a huge lead to Syracuse that was like completely improbable. Like Tony Bennett is essentially Matt Painter with a trophy. And so in that year where Virginia was the one and they won the title, if you were like, well, I'm not betting on Tony Bennett because like look at all these flameouts. I mean, you would have been wrong 6 times in a row and they win the title. I mean, that's tough. Hurley last year is a great example. Since he took over as UConn, they had made the tournament twice going into last season. They had played a first-round game against Maryland in a 7-10. It was one of the most embarrassing performances I've ever seen from a team in a coin flip game, and they got smoked. Then he came back the next year. This is the team that won the title last year. Came back the next year as a 5 seed and lost a 5-12 to a miserable New Mexico State team. So, like, that was his resume going into last. Like, how would we have talked about him going into last year? We did talk about it a lot on our show. And I think it kind of like biases you where you're like, well, I can't bet UConn then. Look at those 2 tournaments. Like, look how bad it is. And so I think you play a dangerous game when you only consider the coach, right? So sure, like it can be a part of it. Painter, it's just gone forever. Like it's hard to divorce yourself from that. But I do think like, look, using Hurley as an example, I think you kind of have to keep an open mind on this stuff. Tony Bennett too, like, you know, these are guys with high profile insulting losses and look what happened. They ended up with a title.
Well, and how much does like NIL and the draft, when it comes to projecting and placing bets on these guys, how much more difficult has that made it when you're thinking of futures? Like using Hurley as an example. Okay, he struggled, but then he wins a natty. He could go back. Does that mean that I can spend the next 2-3 years thinking about Hurley, or is it all just kind of in the now?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I think with college football, we're going to see this big time too, right? Like every year becomes its own thing. And it's really tough going into a season. Even you're going to know where all the transfers go and you're going to know where all the NIL money's going. It's just going to be really like, you can't use the previous year as much to project the next year. And for somebody like me, that really sucks because like the previous year is really valuable. A lot of the time, usually winning a title in most sports is like a staircase. It's a multi-step process. And you can see really specific identifiers for teams that are like about to take a big step forward. Okay, you throw a ton of money to buy other players and transfers into that, and it obscures it in a big way. So I think, again, it actually creates more caution, right? Or more like, how confident can you be in what you're seeing? And college basketball this year, you know, there's for sure examples of that. We have transfers at a lot of the big teams. You know, NIL money's like flowing to a certain extent. But yeah, like it's what I try to explain to people is like, just don't anchor yourself in one thing. So the coach, right? Great. Like the coach can be a part of it, but he should only be one of like 10 things. And so if you're kind of, not sure on the coach, maybe there are a lot of other things that make up for that. So in UConn's case, like the coach won and they're awesome. But in Purdue's case, like, okay, you can ding the coach, but also there are 20 other things that make you think this is a team can win the title, transfers, all that kind of like talents would probably be a good way to describe that. It all has to be part of the considerations, part of what makes it very difficult.
Ken Barkley's our guest here every Thursday at 8. You Better You Bet is the program. Him and his co-host Nick Costos do a great job of the BetQL Network and the Odyssey app. Give him a follow on Twitter at Lockie Lockerson. I have a MLB futures question for you, but very quickly, we were talking about Calipari. Swag over there says he is underrated. He's going to go down as underrated. My co-host today, P. Harris, is saying properly rated. I'm saying slightly overrated given the talent that he recruits in every single year. It is freshman. It's heavily freshman with the one and done, but the talent difference between what he has and other teams. So I'm going to say slightly overrated. Where is Ken Barkley on John Calipari?
Have to go with extremely overrated. I don't even think there's like I think it's, I would argue pretty vehemently for that position. I don't know what the argument is like when you have the most talent every time, or you're one of the 5 most talented teams every time. And it didn't used to be like this. Yeah. I mean, so I grew up in Massachusetts. That's where we moved there when I was a couple of years old. My dad worked at UMass, not Amherst, not the team that like had the college basketball team, but in that branch. like in that system. And so we were huge UMass basketball fans. I'm sure people know that Calipari started his career there, made the Final Four before, basically like flaming out and ended up on Memphis. There's a lot of violations. There's a lot of stuff going on. But at UMass, he ends up making the Final Four. And like, I think at that point, and then like the Memphis run, like I would have said like, man, this coach is like awesome. Like, okay, maybe there aren't a lot of titles to show for it, but just this like consistent run of excellence. Like in UMass, like in basically consecutive years at UMass, like Elite Eight, Final Four, Memphis, Elite Eight. They lose in like a completely like heartbreaking fashion with Derrick Rose in the title game. And then like they're the second weekend of the tournament or the third weekend every time. Okay, like when was the last time he had a team that we would like feel that way? It's been at least 6 or 7 years, and ton of flame out since then.
His
and
title's
a ton of bad
10 years ago.
Yeah,
isn't it? 2014 is when they won.
The title, the Anthony Davis title, was 2012. That was that season, and then they made the Final Four a few years later. I forget who was on that team.
I think
that
they
might have
lost
been like Brandon Knight and those guys. Yeah.
The Carl Anthony
Kentucky
Towns.
team.
I think they
the Towns undefeated team lost to Wisconsin.
That's
in
right.
the Final Four. Yeah, that was Sam Decker, Frank Kaminsky, those guys. Like, that's like an all time college basketball game. Like if you're what are the 10 most like important college basketball games in the tournament ever? That's in the top like 3. It's the most high level, highest rate. I mean, it's just the best. The Gonzaga like undefeated run is probably in there somewhere because it was a pandemic. We didn't have a lot of other things to do, and we all wanted to watch those games. But just for Calipari, like I would have always said either properly rated or just like he's really good. And it's ending with a whimper. And this year's going to be no different. Like they lose to LSU. They should never have lost the game last night. And they're up 15 with 10 minutes to go. I mean, just like what is going on? That team's got 6 pros on it. They got an international kid that reclassified in the middle of the season. The guy's like Sabonis. And it's like you add him and he still can't win. So it's just what's going on? Like, honestly, like, does he need to go coach somewhere else? Is this like a stale, like, need a new voice situation? It's been a bizarre run. I think it makes him overrated this way, which is crazy.
Do you have a favorite? Baseball is underway. Spring trainings are going on. People are getting excited. There are see-through pants that people are debating about right now.
The wives love.
Yeah, they do love.
The wives love it.
I mean, see-through white pants. How do you not? You know.
What
Do you have any MLB futures, Ken? Do you have a team that you're eyeing, or do you have division winners? How are you evaluating the future landscape of Major League Baseball?
So you guys know usually let's use a baseball analogy. You're going to throw a pitch that I'm going to be able to kind of hit it out of the park, whatever question you ask. I got nothing here. I haven't done any work on baseball. I am NCAA tournament the whole way, and NBA and awards for that, and hockey and awards for that. Like I got 8 plates sitting right now. I will tell you that I've had 2. This will be the one baseball thing. I've had like 3 different people DM me that Vlad Guerrero Jr. looks like a bodybuilder this year, and he's like in insane shape, which was not the case last year. And obviously, so he's kind of had this weird on-off stretch, right? Like insane Triple Crown season, terrible season where maybe he's overweight, doesn't hit the ball well, everyone's adjusted. Now, like, what's this going to be? I think a lot of people are maybe saying the pendulum swings back the other way. Maybe like, can he lead the league in home runs? Can he win MVP? There'll obviously be a lot of competition for that award. But Ohtani's out of the league now, so maybe it's a little bit different.
Okay, let me ask you then. I appreciate the honesty there, actually. Who are you eyeing in the second half of the season? NBA comes back tonight. We got some good games underway. I know LeBron against Golden State, but we got Phoenix, Dallas to me is very interesting. I'm still not sure how to feel about both of them. Where are you at on the futures of the second half of the NBA?
So I think if it's like title, I think Denver is still by far the most likely team to win. Now, I would like to see them play just a little better than they closed going into the All-Star break. But if they can get themselves even to, 10% better than they are right now, and they have not had a very good first half as well as they played. This is not like last year. If they play a little bit better, I think they do win again. I don't even know who I would have second most likely at this point. I don't like Boston very much as a winner. I think they'll win a couple series and flame that probably. In terms of like play on in the second half, so for the next 2 months, I think Dallas and Miami would be 2 teams that are really interesting. These were the 2 teams that were beset by far the most by injuries in the first like 60 games of the season. And Dallas basically has like never played with a full deck until the couple weeks before the All-Star break. They won every game. They won 6 straight going in. Now they make a couple trades. They get Daniel Gafford, PJ Washington. I kind of think they're like locked and loaded to be real. They play a brutal schedule the rest of the way, a ton of high profile games. I kind of think they're going to go on a pretty big run, and maybe that gets Luka MVP if that happens. But obviously it has to start tonight. They dumped the game to Phoenix tonight. It's almost already over in terms of that handicap. So really, they're the most interesting team to me. And then Miami's easy. Same thing. Ton of injured guys. When is Butler going to play and for how much? And we know what they did the last couple of years. We know that they made the finals last year. Like, there's still that kind of a team in there. Can they play remotely close to that level? I think they're interesting too.
Ken, I will text you on the side instead of putting your address on another sheet of paper and get your address so I can ship you this gift basket of Made in Oregon products because you're a genius and I'm not, which is why we begged for you to come back after football season. We appreciate the time, and hopefully we talk to you next week.
Yeah, flattery will get you everywhere. Let's step up our technology. No more sticky notes. Okay? Let's get some phones and stuff going here. All right.
I agree with that. Thank you, Ken.
All right. Yeah, no problem. Talk to you guys next week.
Yep. There's Ken Barkley. You better, you bet. Great guy. We have him on every Thursday at 8 a.m. Him and Nick Costos do a fantastic show. It is gambling specific, but they venture off from time to time. And as you've seen on social media, Nick Costos can be fired up as Ken is kind of the logical, reasonable guy trying to map his way through how to view through the sports gambling landscape of sports. We have a lot more to get into, including this kind of rearing its ugly head next on The Fan.
The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
Brock Purdy is us.
always get what you want.
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
You might find.
All right, welcome back in. Dirt and Sprague with you. If you've caught Monday or Tuesday's show or Wednesday's show, quick heads up. Happy Thursday to you. We have a pair of tickets to Portland Golf Show March 1st through the 3rd. If you text the word golf to 503-864-6326, you can enter for your chance to win that pair of tickets to the Portland Golf Show at the Portland Expo Center March 1st through the 3rd. Text the word golf, G-O-L-F, to 503-864-6326. Good luck to everybody that participates in that. I didn't get to my thing earlier. I teased there's a team that I heard yesterday that people were liking more than the Yankees. And I understand the Yankees are not the Yankees of the early 2000s and late 90s. I don't pretend that they are, but it's still fascinating to hear that this team over the Yankees was the pick.
Yeah, I picked Kansas City. I was wrong. I got like 3 teams. I'll hold the other one. So
is this in the American League or the AL East?
AL.
The entire
American League. It's the American League. You know, let's play the game now. Why tease it? Let's just do it. I'm already into it.
I just saw something that will make Dirt happy. So
did you?
Yeah.
What did you see?
Jack Collinsworth out as the voice of Notre Dame on NBC.
Also saw that.
Oh, really?
Jack's losing his gig.
Nepo baby?
Nepo baby out. Now, will they still have him on Sunday night coverage doing whatever the hell he does?
Oh, they'll keep him there.
Oh, he'll roam around a sideline. That's no big deal.
Yeah.
But
with Rodney Harrison,
there's 87 people on that broadcast.
Yeah.
He can roam on a sideline.
That guy, I kind of feel bad for him. I'm at a point where I didn't like him, and now I kind of feel bad for him. Like, this cannot be great.
You get put out there.
Yeah, that's true.
He's no Noah Eagle, I'll tell you that.
No, he's not.
Oh, Noah Eagle's amazing. Swag's jealous of Noah Eagle. Noah Eagle got his dad's looks and his pipes.
I think I'm more jealous of Ian Eagle than Noah Eagle.
Well, yeah, I mean, Ian Eagle's a legend.
But Noah's like on the way.
I mean, anytime you have an Ian that calls it an Ian,
Yeah.
I think you're cut from a different cloth there.
And you better own it.
I remember.
Otherwise, you suck. Like, you're the biggest douche ever. Oh, hi, Ian.
Fun fact, when I interned in Seattle, the host I was interning for went to college with Ian Eagle.
Love it.
I'd heard Ian Eagle's voice. I saw his name, and they're like, call him. We need to book him today. So I call him, and I go, hey, Ian, it's so-and-so. And he goes, don't you know I'm an Ian? And I was like,
in the voice.
No, in his voice
Yep.
sounded exactly the same. And it was like maybe a 2-second pause, but it feels like eternity. And I'm like, and he goes, I'm just kidding. It happens all the time. Really nice guy. No,
in the American League.
AL
Because
team.
my other guess was going to be Pittsburgh. So maybe this is more an obvious thing that you didn't say AL East, so I would have assumed
Not AL East,
Baltimore.
AL.
But AL, I'm not sure.
Over the Yankees. Better odds than the Yankees.
Well, better odds according to this that I
like
saw.
this season
that they
or-
would take, yes, for this season.
Oh, I would take the Mariners. I would take the Astros. I would take the Rangers. I would take the Twins. I would take Kansas City.
Oh, okay. Can I pause?
Hmm.
You never take the Twins. If the Twins get to the playoffs and face the Yankees, they will get swept.
Oh, that I'm
I-
assuming.
I
But
don't care what any of the analytics.
that I know, but I don't think the Yanks are going to the playoffs.
That's a
so
hot
I don't
take.
care.
I like it. You named the team, and it's a team and a fan base that's like perpetually miserable.
That would be the Seattle
The
Mariners.
Seattle Mariners. I was watching ESPN Bet, and they were talking about this, and one guy's like, "I'm taking the Mariners over the Yankees," and I'm like, "The Mariners?"
I believe the Mariners have 5 top 100 players,
Okay, so help me with this.
and I believe the Yankees have 3.
Help me with this. Julio has a very slow start to his hyped season last year, right?
Right.
He even acknowledged, he said at spring training,
Mhm.
I had a bad year. I didn't have a year I wanted. They missed the playoffs after finally making the playoffs.
Kind of
Every-
S the bet at the end too. Could have got in.
Dipoto comes out and says, as long as we win 54% of our games, that's our World Series
Yeah, that was
recipe.
bonehead.
It didn't land with people. I was under the assumption, not being Mariner guy, not being a Jordan Schultz wearing Mariner gear every day of my life, I was under the assumption they were not excited about this team, and maybe they're not. But hearing that out loud made me go, okay, so the Mariners, should I put them in this good category in my mind? Because I'm with Ken. I'm not in baseball mode yet. Where are you guys? Are the Mariners going to be surprising people this year?
I think the Mariners are exactly the same as they were last
Yeah,
year.
they can be in the mix for a wild card spot.
they've
to say that they're going to be better than the Astros and the Rangers is a stretch for me.
Was a division going to? Are you counting on?
I
a
think
division
they
with
have the
3 teams
toughest
in?
division in the American League.
Yes, because the Red Sox and the Yankees aren't any good. Toronto, I've got massive question marks. Tampa will do Tampa, and Baltimore's great. Yeah. I think it's the toughest. Mariners have a top 10 player in baseball in Julio Rodriguez. MLB's doing their rankings right now for whatever that means.
The Dodgers have 3 of the top 5.
Who?
I saw Acuna's number 1 in MLB's top 100.
Yeah, and MLB has Julio Rodriguez at number 10.
Okay.
But on that top 100 list is Luis Castillo, Logan Gilbert, and George Kirby.
They have the
you
pitching.
you throw Miller and Wu in there, you've got the best rotation.
Do they have the bats though?
They don't. Now J.P. Crawford lands on that top 100 list, but kind of way down near the 100. But that's 5 guys in the top 100. In comparison to the Yankees, you got Soto, Judge, Cole, and what else?
And who knows what their pitching
How
rotation
dare you not
looks
name
like.
Stanton?
And that right there is easy enough to say, yeah, I got way more belief in the Mariners to make the playoffs, but I don't think the Yankees are even close to the playoffs, even if they get Blake Snell.
So a disaster season.
Yeah, Boone's getting fired.
Even if they get the reigning Cy Young Award winner, that won't change anything for you?
With the current reigning for the other league, yeah, they would have these Cy Young winners on their team.
That's crazy.
Because right now, Soto won't talk about a contract extension because I think he knows he's not going to be there.
Well, why would you give him one? That's what I would say.
Well, I would give Soto a contract
You
for
give
sure.
him his $300, $400 million
Yeah,
deal?
I think you take a shot on Soto. In his youth, yeah, he's...
What is he still? Is like, what, 24 or
yeah,
something?
Yeah, I give him a 10-year deal, no problem. But he is sitting there looking around. It's like, Aaron Judge, this guy's in charge? I used to have Jace Tingler, and I'd rather be there.
Who I'm blanking on his name right now. Their longtime exec who runs the show.
Brian Cashman.
Thank you, Brian Cashman.
Like, he's got to go, and they won't. Hal and Hank won't get rid of him.
Because they're best friends. He did an interview a while ago when they had the meetings, the Arizona meetings where they all go.
The
You
winter
know,
meetings.
and the
Is
winter
that when he
meetings.
dropped the F-bomb?
Yes. He also basically acknowledged we can't count on Stanton. He's just gonna miss a ton of games. We cannot count on to say that out loud about a current player. That's not going anywhere.
And
that's pretty eye opening.
It's one thing for Patino to do it to college kids. When you do it to a millionaire, that's a wild another thing too.
Yeah, that's big boy business
But
right there.
to be fair, Stanton took that and he's lost a ton of weight, and his entire offseason has been about conditioning and contact hitting and not trying to hit 60 bombs.
Wouldn't he be the wild card that throws the wrench into your opinion on that?
Over under who plays more games next year, Anthony Rendon or Giancarlo Stanton?
So you're still not
Push.
Okay, so even you just said what he's doing, and then you're still not believing it.
Without a doubt.
Okay,
Like
all right.
Cashman's not wrong.
But the Mariners are a good team then.
Mariners are a good team.
Okay.
Ty France, I saw an article. Ty France said he looked at his swing from last year and he was like almost threw up. He's increased 0.3 seconds on his bat swing.
The big question is, will they add a bat before the season starts? There's a few lingering free agents.
Matt Chapman
is the most common name being
I'd throw
tossed
money
about.
at Cody Bellinger, but he's going to go back to the
Well, and they also didn't view Kelnick as that big bat they had to have back.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think they were down on Kelnick,
Yeah.
and I think both of those, in just looking how Kelnick has dealt with it in Atlanta, it was just time for both of those people to let it go.
Yeah, it was a bit of a journey for him
Because
in
Kelnick
Seattle.
got there, and I think Kelnick's going to do great things. You'll love him in Atlanta if he stays healthy and
we'll
gets
see.
his head together.
We'll see.
But he got to Atlanta and he was like, I just want to thank my teammates and the fans.
Yeah.
And, it was like, and then double downs and is
Sure.
like, yeah, I didn't want to be there.
Well, I guess what I'm coming off of as not being Mariner guy, and to one listener's point 2 days ago, stupid baseball guy talking here. Okay, yes, I will own that ground. I guess my read on the Mariners situation wasn't so much roster, viewing it at the roster standpoint. It was more like it's
You're
just
seeing legacy.
it's not just legacy. It feels like it's a lot like the Blazers, and that's fitting because they're also in the Pacific Northwest. It's such a downtrodden fan base and depressed and pissed all the time because they don't try enough in their eyes to be good, that I just kind of view it in a negative lens of like, there's no way they're going to be good because the noise is so loud about hating Dipoto and just being good with run-of-the-mill baseball team that it feels like, they can't be good. The fans aren't excited right now.
Well, and the other thing that nobody wants to talk about and nobody wants to understand, and everybody says that's stupid, you're a $1 billion corporation. The Mariners have to take on Root Sports. Like, they are now floating that. They
Well,
are financially strapped to that.
Baseball
and,
teams are struggling with their regional sports
and that
networks
is the reason why they are not out there spending the big money like they talked about doing. They talked about going after Chapman and going after Bellinger and going after some of these big time hitting free agents, going after Otani, things like that. They talked about it. But once Root kind of started to fall apart and they have to take that on financially, that's when your corporate execs kind of go, whoa, 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 pull back. And I know that's not sexy to talk about for baseball fans. I don't like to talk about it. When you listen to the Hot Corner on Wednesdays from 7 to 9, you rarely hear me talk about it because I want to talk about what's on the field. But from a cash flow standpoint, from a major league executive, that's what holds them back. They're not just a team that's like, yeah, we're worth $1 billion, so we're going to spend it like the Yankees, because look where it's got the Yankees. Mariners are going to be more viable for 5 years than the Yankees will.
88 wins the Mariners had. They finished one game back of the final wild card spot to the Blue Jays. 89.5 over-under. I set that number. You guys taking the over or the under?
Ooh, 90's an awful lot.
It's only they were 2 games shy of that.
And they lost 3 in a row at the end of Texas.
And how many one-loss run games did they lose last year versus 2 years ago? They won all those games. So, like, the luck is going to go back and forth on those one-score games, too.
I'm like you, though. I need to see it before I totally buy in.
Okay.
I'm positive. I think France has a better year. I think Julio has a better year, and I think George Kirby or Luis Castillo could win the Cy Young. I'll say over.
Also, in my face,
not by much, but I'll say over.
In my face of not following the end of baseball, 6 games better than the Yankees last year.
Yeah.
88 wins to 82.
Yeah.
So maybe not so outlandish, just to hear it out loud, given that I'm around Mariner fans generally, it's like, oh, okay, this team could be good. Okay, great. Why are we so down on it? But I also understand the front office, some of the stuff they've said out loud. Kelenic as a prospect, coming and going. Oh, he's gone. And just where you sit, you have a great pitching staff.
Yeah.
But do you have the bats around them?
Right. I'll give you a little nugget, too. I know we got to get out of here,
Yeah.
but we're previewing each division. I like your Braves to win it all.
Thanks for the jinx.
You got it, buddy.
104 wins, lost to the Phillies.
Anytime.
Still sore subject. Coming up next, this rearing its ugly head in sports. I'll tell you what it is next, but first, Swag with the sports update.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by 808 Hawaiian Restaurants. Enjoy some Kahlua Pig Terry Chicken, even an island cocktail of Burnside Woodstock, or order online at ate-oh-ate.com. First on the Fan, the ink not yet dry on the approval of the 5+7 model for the college football expanded 12-team playoff, and there are reports that they're already working on a 14-team model that could go in 2026. One of the caveats, Big Ten and SEC looking for 4 automatic berths in that expanded model. College hoops all over the region tonight, right here on the Fan at 7:30. It's the depleted Ducks trying to mount a run to the tournament on the farm at Stanford, 8 p.m. tip. Beavers are across the bay. In Berkeley, they'll take on the Cal Bears 7 on the Pac-12 network over on 910 ESPN Portland, 5:30 pregame, 6 o'clock tip. The Pilots welcome in the Gonzaga Bulldogs. PGA Tour has begun its journey east. They'll stop south of the border this week for the Mexico Open at Vedanta. Round 1 underway. Cameron Champ, 6 under, making the turn. He's got a 2-shot lead over Robbie Shelton. Andrew Novak 3 back at 3 under. More sports scores and stories. 30 minutes. Jason Swagger from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Spirit Mountain Casino is the place to watch and wager on pro and college games every week. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
The Fan is live on YouTube and Twitch. This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. I do not appreciate, and I don't believe I have a track record for this. Swag, the YouTube comments are saying that I'm a bet welcher and that they're laying odds of if I will send the gift basket to Ken Barkley by next week's interview.
You will send it.
Well, they've pissed me off. This is now a spite petty expediting the package to Ken Barkley.
Thank you
because
for
of this.
taking the bet welcher tag off
right?
of
The
me.
butt welcher? What were
Jake-
you thinking about right there? Butt welcher?
Jake the Hater chimes in. Odds, Sprague doesn't send it by next guest appearance, minus 125. Sprague in the line, baby.
It's disrespectful.
Harley, I am hammering that line, but it does feel like a trap.
It is a trap. Don't do it.
Ginger Fit Dad,
Oh,
Bet
no.
Welcher Sprague.
Oh, come
They got
on.
you, dude. Send the damn basket,
Oh,
Sprague.
my
No more excuses.
Come on. The hell we doing? When did I don't have a reputation of that.
No.
Bad picks, bad gambling advice.
Sprague
So
in the
are we
line.
continuing Sprague in the line tomorrow? Now that football is all over, what are we doing?
I don't
Brought to you
know,
by
man.
Welch's Grape Juice.
I'm not interested.
Or are we just gonna do that? Like we'll do it when we get to the NCAA tournament sort of thing. When there's big stuff going on, maybe the
Ooh,
Masters.
Can I be a part of that? I'm going to A this year.
Are you?
I'm going on Saturday. I'm going to go day 2.
I don't even know what
That would be day 3. Technically day 5.
I'm sorry, I meant round 2, which is now technically round 3. But I'm going round of 32 on Saturday.
I have
How
no
about
idea
that?
what we're doing as a station. So you might be out there by yourself, or we might be out there. I have no idea.
No,
Nobody's
I
told
just
me
want to
anything.
play. I just want to like
Oh, just
gamble
hang
with
out,
you.
yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk to you on this show about gambling.
Yeah. Well,
March Madness is the only thing I'm decent at gambling on.
our show, we're a morning show, so like
Right.
we don't usually go to these events.
No, I'm not saying go there. I'm saying in here,
Oh, gotcha.
where we're doing right now.
But I was out there last year hanging out, and Eric Gunderson happened to be out there. So me and him sat at the bar, and he was eating French onion soup, and we were gambling on basketball games.
See, I want to be a part of that.
Like, what is
Great
this
day.
life?
I've never
That's a
done that.
great
I want to be a
day.
part of that too.
It was like 11:40 a.m. and he's like, "Can I get the French onion soup?" And I'm like,
beautiful.
"What the hell?" And he's like, "Work doesn't know I'm not here, but I'm here." And I think it just outed him publicly. I'm sorry about that. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'd be a lot of fun. We can do this segment because I think people like throwing in the things, but I don't know about actual picks.
No,
I'm asking.
Were you telling me 1 minute, or were you?
I'm saying 1 minute.
I thought.
yes.
Okay, thank you. I thought you were like, "Oh,
No,
I was
no, no.
gonna."
No, if you're not into it, I mean, it does have your name on it. It is Sprague in the line.
I don't mind. The insults are great. It's kind of what I live for at this point.
Okay.
But like actually
big fan
gambling,
of self-deprecation right here. Big
I
fan.
will.
I love to
I'll
do that.
throw out picks. I got no issues.
I today for the first time, big announcement, huge. I woke up at 4
So
a.m.
huge. The biggest you've ever heard.
I woke up at 4 a.m. today.
Getting some gold high tops.
$3.99, baby. Can you believe those same people that are complaining about the prices of eggs are buying $400 shoes that cost $15 to make?
But they're the greatest shoes.
The
ever
audacity to complain about inflation and grocery prices and then buy those shoes. Never. Just stop. Just shut up. I woke up at 4 a.m. and I took my very first ever morning cold plunge.
Yeah.
Been doing that at night. And I wanted to try to do it in the morning, see how energized I feel. Because it gets
Yes.
you charged up when you do it.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed it. It's felt really good. I got out of the cold plunge, took the shorts off, so I'm butt ass naked.
Shrinkage.
Just- man, I looked in the mirror and I'm like, it's not even there.
She gone. That's 5.
It's a dot. All I'm seeing is a dot. That water
Yep.
was cold, man.
Still hibernating.
Still hibernating. She's not awake yet. Not awake yet.
She don't exist.
Yeah, basically, it's how it felt. Yes.
You got an innie now.
But I will say, it did help me. It kind of charged me in a way that I was hoping it would.
Well,
Yeah,
good.
it made me feel better. I didn't need to be as dependent on coffee.
That's great, dude.
It is.
All right.
It helps with inflation.
Inflammation?
Inflation.
I like
Does
the
it help with inflation? If it helps with inflation, I'm getting a cold tub,
Hey,
baby.
it did shrink. It did go
If
down.
inflation is a problem, then yes, it helps with inflation.
I talk on radio for a living. Can you
Here's
tell?
what I do. I speak words.
My daughter is 12, and 12 is the age when they start to realize what sarcasm and being a smartass really is
Oh,
about.
I've got an 11-year-old. I know what you're talking about.
And I said something last weekend, and my 12-year-old goes, "Obleh, obleh, obleh, you're on the radio," and she just walked away. And I just stood there and I'm like, I deserve that. I deserve that.
Yeah, that one's on me.
I'm never telling her what Sprague and the Line is because then she will text into the show.
Yeah. Bad sponsors.
With deep
rooted secrets.
Deeply personal cuts that nobody knows.
Yeah.
And I don't need that in my life.
And your kids are never going to think they're being too savage on you.
No.
But you, of course, can be too savage on them.
I've also taught them, like, I'm raising them to be like, yo, when you're with your friends or people you really love and care about, obviously there are certain lines, but have fun, clown each other. It's what it's about. You can't take yourself too seriously. I didn't get to it. What is happening right now in sports that's making me and Patrick jealous? And then also a quick heads up on the Fan Winter Golf Classic next on the Fan.
It's the Vancouver Ford text line. This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Okay, very quickly, I want to give you a heads up. The Fan Winter Golf Classic, the X Golf Tualatin in Vancouver, is Tuesday, February 27th. That's next Tuesday. You can choose from either the noon round or the 4 p.m. round at X Golf in Vancouver and some 4 p.m. slots in Tualatin. All of this stuff is filling up very quickly. Danny Dusty, Isaac Zook will be live broadcasting. Winning threesome will get into the Fan Golf Classic this summer with a foursome, and the last place threesome will receive a free lesson at X Golf. Food by Victor Rico's, Pro Catering, and the Urban Restaurant Group. Go to 1080thefan.com.
I think I've recruited Will Ortner to come to the Vancouver spot with me. So
Did you?
Yeah, me and Big Ortner will be out there.
I thought he'd show up where Sukanik is and just wait for Sukanik to leave so he could step in and be like, I'm Suk.
I got to go to the bathroom. Shank.
Their relationship is fascinating to me and almost worth like an E60 because both sides is claiming the other is obsessed with the other. And I don't know what that is, but they look alike.
And Will Ortner's lost like 60 pounds of late.
Well, every football player stops playing football.
Good.
They stop being
He's
fat.
like Joe Thomas.
Offensive linemen go one of two ways.
Yeah.
They either go
Barkley.
way overboard or they understand they got to slim it down. They can't carry 3 bills like that.
And then Jeff Saturday is like a model. He's stunningly gorgeous. You know, your blue eyes. You're not fat. Look at you. I'm kind of get turned on.
Well-groomed beard.
Well-groomed, great hair.
6'4", 230 is a lot easier
Yes.
to get around with.
So
What
sign
about
up.
5'6", 230?
That's a problem.
I'm not that.
What are you,
Is that
boss
not-
hog
I'm
all
not
of a
that.
sudden?
I'm not that. That's a problem.
I am not that.
Start doing something now.
What are you jealous of?
I'm jealous. Me and Patrick are jealous. Massive games in Pac-12. We got Washington State at Arizona tonight.
Yeah, big one.
That
On
actually
FS1, yeah.
generally a big game. Arizona, Washington State near the top of the Pac-12. We're jealous because, and I think I highlighted this when it was announced, the Mountain West is going to get like 4 or 5 teams in the tournament this year.
Yes.
Our teams have been left by all of the Pac-12 members to different conferences, and our basketball teams are going to the WCC. And I mean, no disrespect to you, Swigard, and your Portland Pilots. St. Mary's having a great year. Gonzaga's a down year, but they still have 2 conference losses. I'm jealous because I was screaming for the Mountain West. That is a good basketball conference.
Yep.
And I will say it until my dying breath. It is easier to be good and care about men's basketball in this current sports climate than it is football.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. It doesn't matter. Like, I love the WCC. I've watched a lot of WCC.
I don't.
Over the
I
years.
want the Mountain West.
Right. Like, I'm a GU honk. Swag, your obvious ties to the Pilots. You know, I'm a big West Coast Conference guy, always have been. So at first I was really excited, but then you realize that conference can be very, very top heavy. And it's like, if we were doing Mountain West in football, I was sad that they didn't broker that
With
deal in
hoops.
basketball.
Yes.
And I think the reason they did is because they probably didn't want to tie themselves too closely to Mountain West.
Oh, I think the reason was, I'm going to guess the Mountain West wasn't going to let them participate as a full conference member and be eligible to get the automatic bid.
Oh,
that would
there
be
you go.
my guess.
That could be it.
They're allowed that in the West Coast Conference. I don't know this,
That's a
but
good
my
point.
guess
That's a good
is
point.
the Mountain West said, no, you can schedule us, but you can't participate in the conference tournament and get our automatic bid.
How funny is that to hear out loud? The Mountain West is like,
Strong arm the Pac-2.
get out of here.
Yeah, like we tried to strong arm them in football, and they were like, "Well, 2 can play at that. You can't have our basketball."
But this is kind of my point, though.
Yeah.
Football is like, we don't matter. I don't know if you're gonna matter.
right
You
now,
can-
we just need games.
we need games. We're trying to make money at the gate. That's kind of their view on
Oregon State,
football.
Washington State won't hurt them.
No. But
it-
hoops is different.
Hoops?
San Diego State was just in the final. Like,
Yep.
they care about basketball in that conference.
Do hoops hurt the Mountain West if Wazoo and Oregon State get into that?
Well, not currently in one of those schools. They can't compete.
You know,
Yeah.
like
Washington
would-
State keeps Kyle Smith.
Yeah, like wouldn't Oregon State and Washington State help the Mountain West?
Not Oregon State.
Not Oregon State.
Not Oregon State.
Washington State, it would help
More
their
Kyle
overall
Smith
net
away from
rating,
being
but
Oregon
I
State.
think
Yeah, but you still have Kyle
that's
Smith.
true.
And
But
we
as
like
don't.
long
Jake
as
Dicker.
those 2 schools were looking for a path to an automatic berth to an NC, if they
Mhm.
wanted to be in a conference, it's already tough enough in the Mountain West. They're like, let's
I cannot begin to stress to you guys. I am rooting like hell for football to be good this year. I absolutely am. Baseball, dominant start. They are cleaning up right now.
Yeah, you should feel good about that.
basketball and women's hoops is doing it. Men's basketball for schools like Oregon State and Washington State is the more viable path of what is your identity.
It's what I'm going to watch more of. Like, football is now going to be, hey, you guys want to get together and do some barbecue and hang out with my friends. That's what football is going to be because it don't matter for me anymore. It's gone. Basketball, though, in the WCC, that could matter for me.
Yeah. Yeah, GU. But Kyle Smith got out of the WCC to go to a power conference, and now he's going to go back in it.
I know.
That's why I'd be worried about Ohio State.
I know, but you're telling me I can go to UP at Wazoo next year? Or Wazoo at UP next year? I'm in.
Your Cougs are getting 12.5. You taking the point?
Without a doubt, you take the points on there.
Arizona's, I don't know how
They're
trustworthy
so
they are.
shaky. I mean, I bet if we lose, I think we lose by like 5.
Pull that for tomorrow when that doesn't age well. That's going to do it for us. Thanks for hanging out with us, P. Harris.
Anytime, my brother.
I'm sure we'll have you back before Dirt is back in the saddle. And we'll talk to you guys tomorrow, bright and early, 6 to 9 a.m. Thanks for tuning in. Dirt and Sprague on Portland Sports Leader, 1080 The Fan.
I'm Ryan Horvath with BetQL. This weekend, it's the PGA Tour's 8th event of 2024, the Mexico Open, and one bet that I like is Maverick